AC the Galactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Powerbombshells 188. I'm Mel, that's Sam. We're just two broads talking about the wrestling we're watching. I am Duff Mel today. This is for those of you who get this joke. I had a friend, Sam, who dressed up as Duffman for karaoke, and I had to borrow this hat from him because I know that some of the people in our chat will appreciate it.
Yes. Nikki will be here shortly, and she will super appreciate it because she has been watching. Like, we've always watched The Simpsons like on and off, but she's been watching from the beginning on Hulu or Disney Plus, one of them. And so she will there she is. Okay. I wasn't sure she was in the chat yet.
It was awesome. His costume, and it was perfect because of who he is. It was like the perfect costume for him. And he's not someone that likes to dress up much, but it was the perfect costume for him. And when I showed up and saw him and he was Duffman, and it was like, that is perfect. It was perfect. But then I was like, can I borrow the Duffman hat for my show? And he was like, hell yeah, you can borrow the Duffman. Shout out to Karaoke Jeff. You are Duffman.
We appreciate that. That's very
because
cool.
As we all know, Duffman can't die. Only the actors that play Duffman.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
And I'm glad Nikki.
Next year, the Cloud King.
Yesterday, Jim Valley was wearing a Simpsons shirt, and I was like, your t-shirt is going to compliment my hat tomorrow. I am very excited. I waited 2 weeks because I was obviously hang Mel Page last week because of our Halloween live stream.
Yes.
So I was very excited.
Carried it on. I should have carried it on, but I just went with Juice Robinson because I was already planning to wear my Juice Robinson shirt, and then he wrestled last night, and I was like, perfect.
Here we nailed it. I'm even more excited that Nikki is like someone that makes me so.
Yeah.
I knew we had a crew that would appreciate this.
Yes, you were correct.
I knew there'd be a few of you because of jokes. Because we all joke here. We enjoy jokes. So
we do enjoy jokes, even though Brad is still here, even though I banned him I told him he was trying to start trash with me over the Dodgers winning the World Series last night. And I told him that I joked with Nikki last night that I was going to kick him out of the chat today. And that I told him I was if Kathy is a Dodgers fan, then I'm happy only for her. And that's it.
Okay, that's entirely fair. I actually think that is a completely fair situation because until she reaches legal age of being like a fan that you dislike, I mean, that it's just, it's all right.
Yeah.
I told him if it was Yankees, I would feel exactly the same way.
Yeah, I also hate the Yankees, and it was funny because
the same way.
Last night they popped up the graphic that the Dodgers are they're the first back-to-back World Series champions since the Yankees in 98 to 2000. I was like, I also hate that team too, and I hate them for that because they played the Braves and knocked them out of the World Series. And so I was like, so yes, I hate them.
That's like the 2005, and I mean, it's not baseball, but the 2005 Super Bowl where the Seahawks played the Steelers was a total shit show. And
the Panthers.
We don't know who really won that because the Zebras were playing in that Super Bowl. So, and I never say the Seahawks would have won. I always say that we don't know the true outcome because they needed to fantasy book Jerome Bettis and Bill Cowher winning a Super Bowl.
Oh, you mean like they
effed over the Seahawks so hard? Exactly. I mean, we can all agree on yuck the Fankies.
But they did that too. They did that too. The NFL did that to make sure Peyton Manning got a Super Bowl before he retired, and they screwed over the Panthers because they wanted to make sure Peyton they wanted Peyton to get that Super Bowl win. And so
that's like they fantasy booked the Giants winning. And I mean, I'm from the area, but I am not a Patriots fan, okay? Because my dad was a Giants fan because he grew up in northern Jersey. So he was a Giants fan, but I was a Seahawks season ticket holder, so that was where I ended up. And here in Detroit, I root for the home team because I root for the home team. I love it. The people here, this is a sports town. I love it here. And Seattle was like that too. And like today, everyone's in blue. Even the churches in town say "Go Lions" on their little, like, you know, it's like potluck supper on Thursday. Go Lions. It's amazing here. I love it. And it's the same with the Tigers. And it's so cool living in sports towns so I do root for, because everybody's mental health in this area is literally tied to the performance of the Lions.
I bet it is. I have the Panthers game on and I forgot who they were playing, and I just looked up because the Packers are playing, I guess, in retro uniforms, and they are god awful.
Oh, you don't like them? They sounded like they were going to be cool.
No, the Packers look terrible. They're like,
I hate the Packers too. We just had this conversation about 20 minutes ago, Bob and I.
Guess they're supposed to be gold pants, but they look terrible.
So it's supposed to be their
jerseys. They're blue.
It's supposed to be their original jersey colors, but the thing that was supposed to be cool was that the decal on the helmet looked like an old leather helmet. And I thought it does look like that. Crash, I have no idea what decade this is supposed to be. The helmets look super cool because of the decal, but the jerseys are navy blue with gold stripes on the sleeves, and then the numbers are gold, and then the pants, they've got on blue socks, and then the pants are like almost look like poop brown. They look terrible. I forgot. I was like, who are the Panthers playing? I don't recognize these. And then I was like, oh, that's right, the retro uniform. It was the merger. The merger was in the late 60s or early 70s. But the football that with the leather helmets goes back to, I want to say, like the 30s and 40s.
Yeah,
maybe,
the
Packers is like one of the oldest teams, period. Like, they've been around since way before the merger. And I mean, I get it too, because now that I've lived in the Midwest, it makes total sense. Because it's like, what is there to do in Green Bay, Wisconsin? Nothing. That's why that's run by a co-op of the fans that live in that area. Because there is, if you live in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest, there is nothing to do. Right. That's, if you're familiar with rural America like I am, that's where after a certain time of day, street lights turn to flashing lights because they don't they flash yellow, and you caution because there's nothing open and there's nothing to do. So I get it. Like, it makes sense. So they've been around for ever because like we live adjacent to the high school, and Friday night, the football games, man, oh my Lord.
Yeah, we live near a high school, and they don't shoot them off anymore, but they used to. It's where Nikki and I went to high school, and we don't live too far away. And they used to have a cannon that they would shoot off every time they scored a touchdown, and it was loud as hell. Sometimes I can hear the marching band practice.
Oh no, I can hear the announcer pretty clearly. We almost always know the score.
I get the bell sometimes too. Sometimes we can hear the bell that changes classes. Sometimes we can hear that.
It's kind of like, so like my house is here, and like the high school, or like I got to do it on the thingy. So the like high school is like here, and it's a really small town. Cause like I walk to the library, which is in front of the high school. Right. So it's like, and it's, I don't know, half a mile. So I can hear band practice. I can hear, I mean, at least our community is active. And I actually last year, because she graduated, but I knew one of the kids on the women's soccer team. She was the goaltender because her parents are members of my brewery, and we got to talking, and she's got the same birthday as me even. So it was hilarious.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
So we were sitting, and she was talking to me because she's 17, 18. She was a senior. She was their like varsity goaltender. I played varsity in high school. So we sat for an afternoon and talked for like 2 hours about playing soccer and stuff, because it just, you know, and I like, you know, I used to work with kids, obviously, and young people. Like, that was my career before the brain thing. Yeah. So it was like, I like keeping younger minds in my life, because it helps you not turn into an old person that yells at clouds.
Yes, Definitely.
It's a healthy, that's why I like teaching. That's why I always liked playing with the younger kids and like hanging out and doing like the age-based, the age-appropriate games and stuff with them. Because it teaches you to lighten the F up when you're working with the 2 to 5-year-olds, because you can't take life too seriously with a 2 to 6 crowd.
Of course.
If you do that, you are doomed to be frustrated.
Yeah.
And when they get older and they have their own opinions, like when you get into Kathy's age range there, then they're a lot of fun because they still are being creative about thinking that they're smarter than you. And they come up with elaborate schemes, like my sister's daughter, my niece, writing. I may have said this before, but I have to repeat it because it is such my niece. It is such something my sister would have done in high school or in middle school. My niece wrote an essay for language arts on why my sister gave bad advice.
That's great.
And I was like, did you secure a copy of said essay? Because I need you to save that for like 20 years in the future.
Yes.
For a holiday or a special occasion or whatever, and just break that out. Because and I want to read it. But that is, my sister would have done something like that at her age. In a heart, that is like, I am like, we don't need any sort of genetic testing. That one is absolutely 100% your child. Like, I love it. And she's cute like that. She is very funny like that. She is definitely half my sister's. There's no doubt about it. I don't need any testing. It's hilarious. She's my favorite.
Sounds like it.
I love my jelly bean.
So we have a special guest who is joining us today, and we're going to go ahead and bring them on because we want to be respectful of their time.
Yeah, sorry about that. I got off.
That's me.
That's you. Welcome to the show, Tom. How are you?
Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, guys. I was really confused for a second. I was like, oh, yeah, that's me.
That is you.
You're a special guest.
So welcome to the show. We are glad that you're here. Sometimes we see you in the chat. We appreciate that. And then Mel and I have the distinct honor of being guests on a future episodes of your show, which we are very excited about. It's called Tom Talks Rubbish. Right here, you can find where to follow Tom on Twitter and where you can subscribe. So as soon as Powerbombshells is over, go make sure you subscribe to Tom's channel because he does some really cool stuff over there. And so we're very glad to have you here. Someone says that it looks like you have a halo because of the lighting.
Sadly, it's very dark in the UK currently, and I don't have any ring lights.
Understandable.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, at the moment, I'm going to look like I've got a halo. It's the best I could do.
Hey, it works. It works. We're glad that you're here. I know that
you just fine. That's usually the big sticker.
Right. We just had our daylight savings at 2:00 today, and I know that you guys have had it for about a week or so. So are you getting used to the time adjustment yet, or are you still working on it?
I was never that guy that struggled with the time difference anyway. It's one of those things that it's like, all me and my carers say is like, oh yeah, it'll just be dark when you come and see me this afternoon rather than it still being light, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. That does make sense. And so I'll put that banner back up here.
I clicked into the wrong thing is what it is.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
I got it.
It still helps.
But it's still fine that's in the comments too, because we want to make sure that people know where to find Tom. And so, Tom, for our guests who are not familiar with your show, how did you get started in podcasting, and then how did you come up with the idea of Tom Talks Rubbish? Because I think it's a phenomenal idea, and I think it's such a cool thing that you do. So can you talk to our listeners about that?
Yeah, so I tell this story every time I jump on a show now, and I feel like I've got it down to a science. If the pandemic doesn't happen, ladies, I'm not a podcaster, because it was literally, I needed something to do during either one of the lockdowns in the UK. I was very depressed during the first one. I've been very open about my mental health struggles and things like that. Very depressed during the first one. And then the second one, my mum was like, snap out of it, find a project, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Not in a nasty way. But then, so I stuck up this video. I stuck up this video on my YouTube channel being like, because I'd done interviews with like carers and family members about how the pandemic had affected them. I stuck up this video being like, if the world worked out, these are 10 people that I'd love to interview. And Adam Pacitti, formerly of Cultaholic, was on that list. And somehow he saw that video and was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll even help you record it if you want. Because at the time, I didn't know how any of this live streaming or Zoom stuff worked. So he was like, yeah, all right then. But please, guys, if you're going to check out my work, please don't watch that one.
Or maybe watch it last, like after they've watched it. Just
Oh God,
to see your generation.
It's,
watch it backwards.
Fanboy Central, Mel. It's Fanboy Central.
We all start somewhere. My first podcast that I ever did was about Mass Effect 3 with my cousin and some people that I had never met who are now my best friends in the whole wide world 15 years later. So, but at the time I was like, or actually, no, because it was Mass Effect 3, it was because we were angry because they really pwned us on that game, man.
Yeah.
2 was so good, and then EA bought them, and anyway.
Oh, yes, as a gamer, I fully get Mel's point on that one.
Literally, that's what pushed me over the edge. I had to go talk about. I was so upset about a video game, I actually got on a microphone. So we all start somewhere.
Version of that story in my show in 2 weeks' time.
Perfect.
Well, I'm glad you did it because I do think it's a lot of fun, and I like the style of it. And also, I'm never used to being on the other side of the thing, so it's always still weird for me.
Yeah, to peel the curtain
you create a really fun environment. I loved it.
Blast, guys. This is not me putting Mel on blast, but until I recorded with Sam, she told me no.
Did I? When?
Yes, you did. You were like, let me see how your one goes with Sam, and I will speak to Sam and see how she likes it, and then I'll get back to you.
Well, I mean, in fairness, I do screen that kind of. I mean, that would be pretty much anybody because I don't necessarily like know people, and I'm a little cautious with people because I've been burned in the past. So, and then I have, you know how it is. I mean, people have their trauma. I trust Sam's judgment, and also Garrett. I did when I finally went on your channel, and I've also, I mean, it's been a year. That's all I'm gonna say. So when I went on your channel, I was like, oh, wait, a whole bunch of my friends have done this. I trust all of them. And I was like, that's fine. I am a little shy. I mean, I know it's hard to believe, but I am a little shy. Like I am. I actually have like anxiety and stuff. So this is a weird form of therapy.
This
for
is
me.
not me putting you on blast. I just find it funny when I look back now and I'm like, it's like that conversation, both of yours turned out really well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad.
Yeah, it was funny because Tom told me he was like, because I did the interview first, and he was like, I like doing things in pairs. Like if there's something like where there's a co-host situation, like I want to bring in, like I have this need where I have to talk to both of them.
I have OCD, guys.
It's okay. I like it.
I get it. So I told Mel, I was like, so I messaged her and I was like, we have to go in a pair. So I was like, Tom wants to talk to you too. So I was like, he's already talked to Garrett. Our friend Collins has been on there as well. He's interviewed a ton of people that you guys would know.
Yeah.
Like you talked to Ella J, Sean Ross Sapp, just like Tom's talked to everybody, which actually brings me to one of the questions is, how many do you know roughly how many interviews you've done, and do you have a favorite interview that you've done?
So I love all my interviews equally, but the one that I look back on and go, if people, you guys know the question I end the show on is the content I want my guests to be remembered for, right? So I will always sort of say, if I can be remembered for one, it's my second Brian Zane one from Wrestling with Regret that we did in Times of Flat Circle. I'm having to remember 2023. That's the one that I send to people now, and I'm like, this is who I've interviewed. Please check this out, because everything just went perfect. No tech issues, no questions that you go, okay, they haven't responded in the way that I wanted, or things like that. Yeah, I just really enjoyed that one.
That's great. So if people are checking out your show for the first time, like any of our viewers, do you think that they should start with that episode first?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely start with that one, because that's the one where I really felt like, okay, Tom, you've got a format now. You know what you're doing roughly.
Nice.
Which ironically, if I work it out correctly, ladies, was about 120 episodes in.
Yeah. Yeah. But it does take some time. It took Mel and I were actually just reflecting on this. We were guests on a show a few days ago, and we were talking about how in the early goings of our show, Garrett basically held our hands.
Yep.
And he came on, and because Mel and I didn't know each other than we had a few conversations after Garrett put us together. And so Garrett kind of like led the conversations for us and kind of held our hands through the first few episodes. And then he was like, okay, training wheels are off. Have at it. And so then Mel and I had to it took us a little bit.
He was your chaperone.
Yes, he was our chaperone. He really was. And so
he was like teaching us sort of how to do it. And I mean, I had never talked about wrestling on a podcast. I'd been on podcasts before, but I had never talked about wrestling on podcasts.
So my friend had a show about our former local promotion. And so I had been a guest on that a few times. And that was it. That was the extent of it. That's why when Garrett first approached me, because I was writing for the Fight Game Media website at the time, and he approached me about doing a podcast, and I was like, no, I'm good at writing is what I do. That's what I'm good at. Like, that's what my degree's in. I just want to write. And then a couple months later, he came back and he was like, look, I really want to have a show on our network hosted by two women. And, and he told me the idea, and I was like, let's give it a shot. And here we are 188 episodes later. So I totally get that. If not, it did. And it took us a while to kind of get into our groove and get our format and realize that we talk a lot. And then we have a really great group of people who are generally here with us. And so they ask us questions and things like that. So it took us a while. So I completely get that. And so what is because you film your podcasts in advance and then release them. So what's kind of your process like? And how long does it usually take for you to record, edit, and put out an episode?
So for example, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, we recorded in September. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe that's correct. Mm-hmm.
So roughly, sometimes depending on the talking points, they might go up you'll never see an episode go out the day after. I burned myself out doing that.
I'm sure you did.
In 2021, I don't know if you guys are Lord of the Rings fans, but I had my precious moment, the ring moment, when I knew that I was going to get to 100 episodes in the year, and I burned myself out trying to do 100 episodes in the year. So now I've got a great producer called Jeff Easton, who puts in generic questions. He'll put in all the pictures. He'll put in a teaser clip. So we recorded beginning September.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at time right now. It's been a time.
Yeah. Your episodes are airing next week. So roughly a month and a half after, maybe. Because that's the challenge. I don't know if you find this when you do interviews and things. It's keeping it evergreen enough to be you could watch this tomorrow, or you could watch this in 10 years' time. Sure. But it's also having talking points to get views, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, that makes sense. And I can imagine that's really challenging, that you want to make sure it's evergreen and it's not something that's super time sensitive where it won't matter. If they're watching it in 6 months, it'll be okay. But so I can imagine that's a real challenge to have to, and like you said, because you want people to come back and watch it.
My favorite phrase to use currently is, as we record this in XYZ, I've used that phrase with both of you when we were talking about your fandom.
Yes, you did. You did, which is very smart. That's a very, very smart approach. And so
I've learned my lesson, guys. Do not tell people when it's being released. Just send them the message the day before, because the amount of people that I had people that had on, they were like, dude, you said our interview was going up this week, but then maybe I've had one that's a bit more timely that needs to go out, or I'm sick and I just can't. I just don't have the motivation.
You're a human being.
Exactly. Thank you, Mel. I'm a human being, and I just don't want to. What's the word I'm looking for? I just don't want to create that day.
Yes, that's
so
it's a legitimate feeling. I was talking about that with my friend today.
Don't tell people when it's airing.
No, that's a smart idea, and if we were that way, that's probably what I get it. Yeah, because you don't want to create like then like you said, because then you don't want to feel like, oh, I told them it was going to be this and it's not going to be, and you don't want to feel like you're letting them down or anything like that. So I think it's super smart to just be like, I'll let you know when it's ready to go.
We have a little phrase for that we use in the biz that we in some of our shoot life we call under promise and over deliver, basically.
I like that. I really like that.
So, but the idea is like, you are doing this because you want to do it. So if it ceases to be fun for you or therapeutic for you or any of the things that you started out doing it for enjoyment for, then it ceases. I mean, Garrett's even had that. We stopped doing Patreon a long time ago because it was making him crazy. And we were all like, we don't want you to be crazy. And I get it. He's a sweetheart. He wants to, give us back stuff for our creating here. But Garrett gives us plenty and he's awesome. So it's fine. We were like, we don't want you to go crazy doing Patreon.
Garrett was very good to me.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Garrett's great.
We've marked out about Garrett all week. It's okay.
There's a segment, guys, going out on both of these ladies' interviews where we just mark out about Garrett for 10 minutes. I'm not gonna lie.
It's true.
I can't wait to hear. See, this is the thing for me about this one, because sometimes we're on together, sometimes we're on separate, sometimes whatever it is. Sam does different shows, it's whatever. But in this case, it's like, I can't wait to watch her episode to see what she says about everything, because I'm curious now. So it's like a double thing for me, because it's like, I don't usually watch my own stuff back. I mean, I used to edit my podcast, so I kind of I don't listen back or watch back things much anymore, because that's not my role. But I want to watch hers because I want to be like, I want to hear what Sam has to say about that stuff, because we've gotten to a point now where we're actually buddies and we like each other.
Well. I was like,
go ahead.
What was that? I think we got caught up. What did you say? What was that, Tom?
I was just agreeing. I do apologize.
No, it's okay.
Good.
Yeah.
And so,
where was I? Oh, what I was going to ask you was, so you've been doing this obviously since the pandemic now. What is your favorite part of doing the show?
It's the interviews. It's the talking to people. It's I didn't know this about, I had someone on recently that I'd been friends with in the podcasting space, but we had never podcasted together, if that makes any sense. We've become friendly. We just never had the opportunity to do the show. And when I was talking to him, I was like, dude, you never told me this. That's really cool. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's such a cool thing to be able to learn, especially because a lot of the people that you have on are obviously in the media space. And so to learn different ways that they do things, or how they got started, or how they view the work that they do, which it's really cool. I think I know I said this at the beginning, but I think the concept of your podcast is so cool. And I love that. First of all, I was like, how did nobody think of this before? And thankfully it was Tom who did, because it's love the fact that
it was a complete accident as well.
Right. Yeah. It was just like, hey, if I could talk to these 10 people, I would love to. And then now here you are, 4 or 5 years later, which is really, really incredible.
2021, so it'll be 5 next year, which is a scary thought, guys. It's very scary.
awesome.
It is because I think we've been around. We'll be our 3rd anniversary is in February. Wait, is it our 3rd anniversary?
Yes, it's in February. I have it plugged into my phone. I don't know the exact date off the top of my head. I believe it's around the 20 something.
Yeah.
And I think our 200th episode and our birthday are going to be really close because I was doing math.
I think so too.
So it's like it actually was appropriate. I was like, oh, that'll work out perfect.
Garrett told us like when we even reached like our first like, even because we used to celebrate our milestones like when we had hit 25 episodes, 50 episodes, and Garrett was like, most podcasts last like 10 episodes.
10 episodes.
And he was like, to still be here, at all these different milestones. So, that's an incredible thing to have that type of longevity and to have people that you still want to talk to or that you still have this passion for and that people still want to come on, and to be able to do that for nearly 5 years is really incredible. And that says, I think, a lot about you and a lot about the podcast that you do to still be here this long.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think it's great. It's good vibes. I think that the wrestling space needs more good vibes. So anybody that's contributing in a positive way is down with me. Because
I think that's the thing as well. You ladies can attest to this. I don't go in for the Mel shoots on something Sam said. I just want to have a conversation. I don't go in for the what happened during this scandal on this podcast, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If things like that come up naturally, great. But I will never be that guy that's like, I want to talk to you specifically because you did this.
Sure. Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. Yeah. And then that goes back to actually you talking about how this whole podcast even started. Is there anyone that you have yet to interview that you would like to? Or do you have like a dream interview?
There's a couple. I will use someone that Garrett knows very well. Dave is obviously the big one that I'm like,
of course.
Yeah, that'd be fun because I just want to know. I don't want to know about the 5-star matches and the things. I want to know, how does Dave Meltzer not justify, that's the wrong word, but say, no, I'm not going to do this tonight. Or how does he make sure he's still a husband and a father whilst being a podcaster? I want to ask those sort of questions. I don't want to ask, why did Kurt Angle never have a 5-star match, for example?
I mean, that's a very fair question. But however, anybody can ask that. You could ask.
That is a fair question, yeah.
Because that's an excellent question because he is obviously somebody who's constantly immersed in the world of pro wrestling, that he has to make sure that he has a life outside of that because it will consume you. And then you need a life outside of podcasting because that can consume you. And he does that. He writes his newsletters and it's a lot to try to balance. So I think that I hope that you get to interview him because
that would be awesome.
I think you would have really fascinating questions for him. And I think that would be a great thing. So if Garrett, if you can convince Dave to go on Tom Talks Rubbish, we would watch.
He's a tough one. He is a tough nut to crack, that Dave Meltzer.
Oh yeah, he's one that I'm working on. Do you guys know who Simon Miller is?
Yes.
I don't, but
yeah,
of course.
Yeah, culture, Simon Miller. He's the one that I'm like. He'd be another one that I'm like, yes, please. I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, because that would be a really cool thing. Because obviously, with What Culture being such a popular podcast for a long time, and then he also does wrestling as well, and so
exactly.
He'd be because he definitely. So Mel, he has a podcast that's very popular, especially in the UK, and then he also wrestles now as well. Okay. And so that would be really interesting to talk to him about going outside of the podcasting world and getting into where he's actually wrestling matches and things like that. That would be a really cool interview. So hope you get that one as well. So and I know you've got, I don't want to take are you okay on time? Do we need to wrap this up for you? Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. So, Daza was saying that he didn't realize that Garrett came up with the concept of a show presented by two women. Kudos to him. Yes, He certainly
That was
did.
him.
And Garrett,
He wanted it.
yep. Garrett put together Mike and JD and Paul Fontaine and Jeff Hawkins, all of which are great. So he's obviously got a good eye for combos. Yes, Mel and I talk about how how he's I think Mel calls him the podcast whisperer because he's so good.
I call him, it's the podcast matchmaker usually because it's from that. It's because I'm a 90s kid and it was that movie. And so it just got caught in my craw. But I was shocked to find out, even like when Kevin Ely and James McDaniel were doing the Boom together.
Yeah.
Those two had stupid chemistry. I was shocked when I learned that they had never met each other, that they like met each other for the first time when he like drove up to a show in Texas from like where he was, and him and Puppet Up had an adventure. And oh my gosh, it was crazy. I could not believe it. I was like, wow. Yeah, Garrett's coaching tree is deep. It is what it is. And he's got such a good heart. So
people that I speak to now that are like, yes, it's really cool.
Garrett has been a ton of help, and I've like reached out to him before and talked to him about things, and he's like a great coach. He is and he's so good with people. I've seen him just the way that he, like, even in our Discord, when people get hot with each other, which happens because people are people, and we have a great Discord, but things go on. Garrett is just so patient and so good. Like, it literally takes you, if you get under that guy's skin, you have messed the F up, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Because he will give you.
And Garrett knows this story. I basically had to audition to get him on my show.
That tracks.
Yeah.
So I've sent the message like I did to you fine ladies, and he was like, can I see your actual channel? And I'm like, I don't know why, but yeah, of course you can. And he was like, oh yeah, cool, I'll do it. But in my mind, I'm thinking, does he want to make sure I've not had people on that he's had heat with? Or does he want to make sure that I don't suck? Do you know what I mean?
Right. I think he probably, maybe Garrett's the same way as Mel's, just being very cautious and is just like, you know what, let me make sure that this is somebody that I want to talk to that's not going to do like try to do any type of gotcha stuff or, you know, anything like that. So I think Garrett probably was just being cautious, but
people can be real meanies. I've got a specific condition. It's very, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, no, and Garrett especially, because Garrett has to watch it because Garrett catches trolls like in the worst possible way. I mean, we had to make our Discord as soon as we made a Discord. This is how bad this is. We made a Discord and we were like going to have it open and have it public and be cool. And sure enough, as soon as we open the thing up, some trolls jump in there, start screenshotting a bunch of out of context bullshit by Garrett and going on Twitter with it. And it's like,
oh yeah,
so that's why we had to make it private, and that's why we have to moderate the community so much, because the people in there are legitimately cool people. But it's like, that's the bad faith actors. As soon as we turned it on, they were in there like bang, because Garrett's name was on it, and that's just the unfortunate truth. And it's because of his juxtaposition to Dave, because people. So I think in the end of the day, and this is like just truth. You people are projecting. You're jealous that Garrett and Dave are friends. You're really mad that he has a good rapport with Dave. In the end of the day, you all want Dave's attention and you're mad. Like, just go look in a mirror and then go call a therapist. It's literally, it's like every teledoc is like for free here now. It's like the one thing in America that you can get for a like affordable or $0 thing. It's on the internet. You don't even have to leave your house. You don't need to be on the internet. You need to be calling a therapist. That's what you need. It will help you out tremendously.
Angry Mel is my favorite thing on this show. Can I just point out, guys? Angry Mel is my favorite thing on this show.
This is so simple.
So people aren't living up to their potential. I know that you were going to say something before Mel's rant. So what were you going to say?
Sorry about that. I can't help it. I can't help it.
So there's a clip, and Mel's correct. It's like, I posted this clip, and maybe I could have done the thumbnail a bit better, but like from my Garrett interview, that was like the misconceptions of what is the biggest misconception about Dave Meltzer, according to Garrett, basically. It was a clip that I put out, and the amount of people that were just like, this guy's just up his butthole, like blah blah blah. But then you go, did you actually watch the clip?
I was gonna say,
I actually
No,
commented
no,
to
no,
him,
no, 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 no.
did
They
you watch
never
the
do
clip?
that.
And he went, no. And I went, well, I didn't respond, but in my mind I was thinking, if you watch the clip, you do actually see him saying, I don't agree with this, what Dave says sometimes, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
of course.
Yeah, there's lots of things. It turns out that they actually disagree on a large number of things and can still actually continue on and having discourse with each other. It's crazy.
And you can
Wild.
still be friends, guys. Believe it or not, you can
What?
disagree, but still be friends.
Sam and I do a show together every single week, and there are plenty of times where we disagree on things.
Yeah.
We're still friends. I like her sister. We know each other's dogs' names. We send each other cards. Like it's crazy. It's like
I don't
we can
joke.
coexist and have slightly differing opinions on how things go on. It's wild.
Yeah. And so have you is
I think the problem is the internet gives people too much anonymity, whatever that stupid word, anonymity. Thank you. That
You're
one.
welcome.
It gives people too many, that word that I can't say. It gives people too much of that.
Yeah.
You just
it
go like,
Yes,
just
because
go
we
like,
all
no.
know no one would ever talk to each other like that in person.
Right.
No one, even in the worst time, like even in the craziness that we're living in right now, if you came up to somebody and talked to them that way in person, you'd probably get punched out even now. I mean,
So
maybe
if you
actually.
don't mind about that.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
So a while ago, I went to. Do you know who Inside the Ropes are?
Yes.
Yes.
I went with Kenny McIntosh and all that great crew over there. I went to a meet and greet they were doing with Regal, with William Regal. And this guy came up to me. I know this guy had been leaving, like, not hate comments on my show, but like troll comments, shall we say. He came up to me, asked for a picture, asked for a handshake, was like, I really like your show. And I'm like, I was civil, don't get me wrong, but I was like, dude, I know full well that you've been the one that's leaving some troll comments. And I didn't say that to him, but I was civil and what have you, because it's not the time, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah,
But
no,
it was
absolutely.
one of those where you go, so that stuff you say to me, you wouldn't say to my face then.
Exactly. And he sought you out to shake your hand and take a photo with you, which shows you right there he would never say those things to your face.
That's still weird when people want to take a picture, or like I remember a couple of years ago, right? I went into, it's not Blockbuster, but it's like the equivalent of the English version of Blockbuster, where you can trade in games and DVDs and things and stuff like that. And ages ago, I was looking at a DVD and the guy behind the counter shouts out, "Tom talks rubbish." And I'm like, excuse me? What now? Because I responded and I'm like, what? Words have escaped me. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Because he knew me from the Adam interview. And every time someone says they know me from the Adam Pacitti interview, bless Adam Pacitti, but I do just sort of go, can the ground swallow me whole now, please?
Oh,
no. But he did then turn around and go, I have watched your other stuff. You do really good work. And I'm like, oh, thank God for that. Like the exhale, if you know what I mean.
Right. Well, I'm glad that they stuck around and watched some of the other stuff and the stuff that you're more proud of.
I mean, that's kind of the way it is, right? Like in the music business, the record producers and all the people like around you pick the song off your album that's going to be the one that goes out to the public. But like your whole album is actually better than the song that they picked.
Yeah,
for the most
that's
part.
A brilliant comparison. Yeah. So like I know I'll be remembered for that Adam one because Adam has never done interviews like that. A lot of the people that I had, particularly in the early days, have never done interviews like that. It was just because, and this is what happens when you've had a show as long as I have. And this isn't me bragging, but I am starting to get people coming up to me that want to start a show that are like, how did you get so-and-so? Can you put me in touch? And I'm like, I could try, but I have to always say to them, you have to remember it was a different time when I recorded with them. We were all sitting in our houses with nothing to do. They're busy people now, if you know what I mean.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely a much different time, and I can imagine. But but that says a lot that they're coming that they're coming to you to ask advice, which is really cool.
Oh, it's great. And my advice to people, and this might have been one of the questions you had written down, Sam. My advice to people will always be, just try it. If you don't like it, you can stop. I was about to say give up, but no, that's the wrong mentality. You can stop. Like nobody puts something to your head and says you must podcast. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
yes,
true.
we're all here because we want to be. Exactly. That's really but that's really great advice, and that was one of my questions. So there you go. And so and I know that you do, because you do these things that are generic questions where you ask everybody, like you said, that so then people can just come to you, and or just like if they come to you, you can just post the link and like, here, these are my favorite matches, these are my favorite.
Because I guarantee you girls get asked this on the show quite regularly, right?
and so was that just something because those were questions you wanted to know, or you just knew that people were going to ask that, and so you wanted to tie that into your own show?
Little column A, little column B, because like when I first started the show, if you watch back those early Cultaholic ones, those early interviews, I was just asking generic questions, and that was a comment I was getting a lot of, like, you've got a good style coming, but some of your questions are very generic. So I was like, and then I remember the first time I did the actual format was when I had Sean on, and I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it a couple of days before. I was like, I'm sure he gets asked these questions all the time. And someone I'm really close with Fightful is Rob Wilkins. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I basically said to him, Bud, do you think he'd like this segment? And Rob was like, he'd love that because he's so sick of answering these questions.
Yeah.
He's so sick of answering these questions that he's like, he'd love that. So I did it with Sean. I didn't post the clip out because, to be truthful, guys, when I was living at family, other bills were thing, and I didn't have the money for a thumbnail designer at the time. But now that I do, I now post the segment out separately so that, like, when our interview goes live next week, Sam, for example, you can then go, guys, I've answered these questions. Click link. There you go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right, exactly. No, it's a brilliant idea, which is why I wanted to know how you came up with it. Do you have a video yourself of you answering yourself answering those your own questions? Like,
that's a good idea.
Your generic.
As it happens, I do, because in March, I always try and do something, and this sounds self-absorbed when I say it out loud, but around me, when it comes to around my birthday week, I always sort of do like whether it's like my favorite interviews of that year, like I think I even told my wrestling story one year, but then somebody approached me, Ben Ville, his name is, he does the podcast Wrestling Life, and was like, if you ever want someone to interview you for your show and do like a flip the script episode, please consider me. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be fun. You know what I mean?
Cool
that'd be fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, that last year, I haven't posted the clip yet because life just got busy, and like I just haven't posted the clip. But like, that is a clip that I do want to post one day. Is like, guys, stop asking me these questions. Here's the link.
I finally did it. Okay, I did it. I answered my own questions. All right, leave me alone now. You call that one the "Leave Me Alone" video, and you just post it like right at the top.
The one that I really want to ask those questions to is the Denise Salcedo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
Oh,
gosh, I imagine that. She's like working it all the time.
Because I feel like Denise gets asked those questions more than anyone.
I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right.
I bet she'd actually enjoy just kicking it like that and having more fun with, just because, yeah, again, like you do get asked in those spaces, you just essentially are like, yes, this, yes, Kurt Angle's 5 stars, whatever. The fallback. Why'd you break your own star system?
I mean, that might be the only gotcha question I would ever want to ask Dave. Of like, why do you break your own star system?
I like that question only because it's kind of a joke between a good friend and me, because we just love to watch people lose their minds about one man's opinion on sporting. And so we just, it's kind of a joke theme. It's one of our like B or C plot joke themes that we are regularly on, since we're both wrestling nerds, and he made me an ultra wrestling nerd. He's the one that like pulled me back into it. So that's our like kind of joke, is like, you know, they're always arguing about why Dave broke his own rating system. And we are like, he's going to break his own rating system again and then blow up everybody's head on the internet. Just, it's, you know, I kid with the international wrestling community, but they bring it on themselves, you know. They do.
Leave us alone. We have to get up at 1 a.m. Thank you very much.
That's I get that when I get up for when I get up for Wrestle Kingdom. So that's like the one time a year that I get it.
Me too. Yeah.
So
you know, you guys get 10. Don't you guys get 10 a.m.?
What was that
again?
You go.
Not to spoil the interview that goes out next week, guys. Maybe one of Sam's matches might involve New Japan. Maybe.
Maybe so. You'll have to tune in and find out.
I'm excited. I'm hyped.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see Mel's too. And so
I am interested to see what Sam. Well, I like to see what we said that was similar, and I like to see what we said that diverges.
You know, there were a few things like I thought about his questions like a few days later, and I was like, oh, I should have said this, or I wish I had remembered to add this into it. So it'll be great to go back and rewatch and be like, oh, I should have added this. That. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they do. And have you ever had anybody like? Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to ask, have you had anybody like once the interview's been posted, have they come back and be like, man, I wish I hadn't said this, or I wish can you edit that out? Have they asked for any edits, or are they just, you know, have they had any, have you had
not in a while. So I will most of the time go, would you rather re-record it? I'll re-record it on my own whenever we can, rather than, because I hate chopped up interviews as a fan myself. So I would rather go, like, say you said something, Sam, that you like, I really didn't like that. I would have reached out to you and gone, would you rather re-record it?
That's fair. That's that's a really good idea. And like you said, and do it on your time when you have time to get to it, because you're a busy person and you have lots of other interviews to conduct and get out. So I think that's a really smart approach to it, to do it that way.
Yeah, because you're not really asking anything. I mean, it's pretty controlled as to what someone can tell you, and like we don't have. It's like you make it very where it's like you can talk about it as exactly as much as you need or want to talk about, and so I mean that's fair. I think that's totally fair, because it's good that you don't get too many people requesting it.
So I got praised for this, actually. Do you know who Dante on Deck is, guys?
Yes.
So I got praised by him because when I reached out to him, I did say, obviously, I want to talk about the Stash Club stuff because he left Stash Club. But then I reached out to him the week before because I'd seen that him and his co-host had unfollowed each other on socials and things like that. And I just sort of said, how much do you want to talk about? Because I don't want there to be like this big, what's the word? Pause in the interview, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, that does.
So he said, look, we can talk about it, just don't make it the dominant feature of the interview. And I was like, totally cool. I then sent him the uncut interview being like, is this what you want? And he's like, this is perfect. Thank you, dude. Like, and I was really proud of that, actually.
Good. No, that's really great. And I'm glad
That's
that
awesome.
you that you talked to him first and that he didn't shy away from talking about it and, said what he wanted to say about it. And then, like you said, it wasn't the focus of the interview, which I think was, so I think that's sounds like it was a really cool situation to do it that way. And to, because you don't want to, on the one hand, like you have to address the elephant in the room, but like you said, you also don't want to make it the focal point of the interview.
I even made a joke of it with him. I was like, I took a deep breath and went, right, I've held this as long as I can, dude, but people are going to be in my comments if I don't ask about this.
Right.
And he smiled and he went, I'm guessing Stash Club, man. And I went, yeah, if you know what I mean. And he went, yeah, fair enough. Let's do it.
Well, that's a really good way to approach it. So that's a really cool thing to do it that way. And actually with our interview that we did, we focused more on the podcasting side of things. And so I was like, it would also be cool to go back and and talk to you about like the writing side of things. Cause there was a little bit of crossover with the writing, but we focused more on the podcasting side, which I don't get to talk about as much. And so that was really cool to do. I can't wait for you guys to see this interview, not just because it's me, but I think that we had a really cool conversation.
The conversation was very fun. That's true. That's what I like.
It's so, to let the people know, yours drops Friday the 7th, Sam, and then yours will drop Friday the 14th, Mel.
Cool. I won't hold you to that, and in case some life
I already know that this is when they're going out. They're already scheduled on the channel. But
I've got this in the queue. It is ready to go. He's dialed in for November. He doesn't have to worry. He's going to do everything I love it. Got it going on.
Yeah, so we'll definitely make sure we'll definitely be promoting it.
I don't report that much.
Good.
Sorry. Continue.
No, that's okay. I was going to say we'll definitely be promoting it on our personal pages. We'll also promote it under the Power Bombshells pages so that you guys can see it, because we want you to check it out and also check out Tom's work, because Tom, you do a lot of really cool stuff on your network and or on your channel, and I hope that people will definitely follow, because I think there's there's a cool stuff over there, and you talk to a ton of people. Which I think is, like I said, it's so cool, and that you've got nearly 5 years of interviews, which is incredible. That's a really
crazy,
cool
isn't
thing.
it? It's really
It is. It's such because we're talking like we're coming up on 3 years, so like 5 years. It's like such a gigantic milestone.
I said this to my girlfriend the other day. She's like, how the hell do you find all these people? And I'm like, I really don't know.
There's a lot of nerds in the world.
I was going to say there's a lot of people with podcasts.
That helps as well. There's a lot of nerds in the wrestling space.
That's right.
But also, I think I think I've got credibility in this space now. People know who I am. So it's like, if I send an email, it's like, I'm trying to think of the right word so I don't come across like a big-headed douche. But like, I think you knew who I was, for example.
Right.
It's not like I'm cold emailing people as much anymore. And I do also have like a small Rolodex of like, say I didn't have a podcast for next week. I'm sure I could message someone in this space and be like, dude, I really need a podcast for this week. Any help, if you know what I mean. So that's cool, I think.
That is awesome.
Very cool. And then you have that relationship with people where they're like, hey, yeah, I would totally, let's do it. I would, I'd love to help you out. So that's a really cool thing that you've got. I think that you've got also this reputation that people are going to be like, yeah, I'd love to come back and help you out. They're not going to be like, oh God, I don't want to talk to you again. So like,
oh yeah. I've never had that either. And I feel very lucky. I've never had someone go, no, mate, I really didn't enjoy the podcast last time. Like, can I cuss on this show?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we limit it, but you're allowed.
Like, all right. Like, no F off, if you know what I mean. Like, don't ever ask me again. I've never had
Well, good. I'm glad.
That's awesome. That's a great record, especially on 5 years. That's great. I mean, It matters when you care about
All
what
I
you
keep
do. I
seeing-
think that comes through to people. And so it's not like you're just like half-assing it. I think because you care about what you're doing, that's why you build a base of people that are willing to do that for you. I mean, we've built our little community here and they're really awesome. And I think that we like Fight Game Media is similar. It's not like as large. I don't think that Sam and Sam knows more about this stuff than I do because I'm newer to the space than Sam. So that's why it still blows my mind when people even tag me in tweets about like, or whatever it is about like what's going on. I'm like, oh yeah, they want my opinion. So I'm still getting used to that. I'm
ask people to share your stuff, which I do feel really guilty about.
Don't feel
particularly
guilty
with
about
YouTube
it.
sometimes.
No, I don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel guilty about it. You got to get it out there to the people. And the way the algorithms works now, you never know what's going to get seen and what's not going to be seen. So I have no problem retweeting your stuff and retweeting it.
I've said this for years. I signed up for social media and the real reason this is true is because I was I was the day camp director for a summer camp at a Parks and Rec center, basically at a nonprofit. And my counselors were from all over the world. And they were on Facebook. And they were like, you've got to get on Facebook. And this was literally in 2009. And so I got on there to continue to communicate with them. And what largely I signed up for, and Twitter became big. I signed up to pay attention to my friends' kids and pets, to see like Halloween costumes, like this week, Halloween costumes, first day of school pictures. And for all the rest of it is to put over my friends' stuff. It's like to share my family album and to put my friends' things over because the algorithm is dumb. So when you send those to me, I have zero problem with that because that's the reason I'm on social media. Because largely otherwise, I would say the F off of it because it's not great for your mental health, and I still have to meter myself on it. So, anytime.
And I don't know if you guys are like this. If I stepped away from podcasting tomorrow, I think about 85% of my social media presence would disappear. If I stepped away from podcasting tomorrow, I'd be like, yep, no more Twitter, no more Instagram, no more. I might keep
Twitter for sure, especially because that's where a lot of my writing that's where I built a lot of my network for writing, and then they came over to the podcasting. And so even if I like walked away from writing, then I probably would barely use Twitter.
It's only because
definitely
most of my following over there started out because of 2016 politics Twitter, and I ended up falling into a really cool group of smart, progressive-minded folks that just are awesome. And I mean, so I ended up getting blocked I got blocked by Sally Albright by de facto just because of my friends being loudmouthed. I mean, they would be like, again, not to toot my own horn either, but it would be like during that 2016 campaign, people that I knew regularly and was talking to regularly were being like shown on CNN. Their tweets were being shown, and I'm like, oh, it's one of these people that I know. It's one of the best. Like, I know that person. I talked to her 5 minutes ago. We were just talking about how stupid you all were. Like, so I have a lot more followers over there. However, it's not a space that I would generally prefer. And even on Facebook, like my favorite thing about, I know Facebook is essentially where I call it where memes go to die, but also because I live in a small town, we have Facebook groups for our town. And that lurking in those is hilarious. And you get a lot, like you find out where the garage sales are. You find out who's baking things, which is great. You get all the local, like whatever, but you get so much local freaking skinny. You get the skinny on what's going on in town because the mods are pretty liberal in those town groups. And they let people.
Oh, wow. I like that. I really like that.
It's funny hilarious. That you mentioned social media today because Twitter told me that I have been on there. Today makes 15 years since I joined Twitter, and I joined
told me that recently.
because I joined it because for a journalism class that I was in, we were covering the local election for the town that my college was in. And my journalism professor made us all join Twitter. And I used it for that class. I was helping with the local election stuff that night that we were covering, and which made me realize I don't want to cover politics. Just doing that and attending attending a town. I had to attend a town meeting, which was especially in a small town as a bunch of nothing, and it's a waste. Yeah, I was like, nope, education. I mean, I was like,
it sucks.
It was not fun, but my professor was trying to get us to try different things and see what we were into. Cause we went and we did the Charlotte Checkers are our hockey is our, they're not NHL, but they are a feeder team basically. And so we went to a Checkers game and we got to interview players afterwards and interview the coach. And so that's when I realized I like this kind of stuff. Politics. I don't want to cover politics. And I definitely don't want to cover town meetings. I can't so it was good. It was a good experience for that much. But anyway, so that's how I ended up on Twitter. And then I barely used it for a while. And then somehow I found Atlanta Braves Twitter, and it was well before it turned into this big clicky thing. I had friends all over the place. We would watch baseball games together every night, and we would, tweet about it, and we would tweet together, and we're watching. And that's where a lot of my followers came from. And then I was tweeting about wrestling, and they're like, "Oh, you watch wrestling too?" And then when I started writing, I started that's how my network built. But it was it was really weird because that was back when Twitter was definitely a much different place 10 and 15 years ago for sure.
Yes, and the 140 character thing.
Oh my gosh, yes. And when they used to have Twitter, they used to have Twitter jail. If you tweeted too much in an hour, they would block, they would not allow you to tweet. And so I never had one, but people would have backup Twitter accounts. So when they would get to, and it was their name jail. And so when they got put in jail on their Twitter account for tweeting too much, they would go to the backup account and tweet from there until they could tweet from their main account.
Yeah, that's why I have 5 of them. But yes, we call that Twitmo.
I remember this.
Twitter.
I wasn't really on social media at this point. I was too young.
That's okay. You're allowed.
Yes. And so, and I was tweeting about that today about how I've met some really cool people. And there's people I've hung out with online that I've met through Twitter. I've hung out in real life with from Twitter, but I use it much
Twitter is the reason I know Garrett. That's how we got to talking, was because I liked his interviews with Dave so much more. And I tweeted at him one day about one of his interviews that was so good. And he actually answered me, which was crazy to me. And I got to talking to him. And that's the same way I got to know Jim Valley. It was actually the funniest thing about how I got to know Jim Valley is when I first moved in this house. So we've been here 6 years. When I moved to this house, there was a people living on the corner. And this dude used to wake up at 3 a.m. and start his truck. And it was this, and he would just run his truck. And I used to call him, this is the one, so I'm going to use it, Sam. I'm going to use it up.
Okay.
We used to call him Truck Fuck. Because he would start the thing at 3 a.m. and just run it. It was how do you afford gas for that? And he would run it and run it and run it. And so I started tweeting about him because Bob would have to get up for work and he would be running the truck. And then him and his teenage daughter used to scream at each other all the time early in the mornings. That was exciting. It was true Midwestern, local chicanery. It was great. But I was tweeting about it so much that Jim picked up on it and he started making jokes about it with me. And we started making puns about it. And I drew a little picture of this guy. And his truck included little truck nuts. That's why I remembered about it. That was my favorite part. And Jim was like, "Oh, you're an artist."
In the early days.
What's that?
I think I remember seeing some of these in the early days.
Okay, that's funny because that's how him and I started to talk. And he's like, "Oh, you're an artist too." And that was that was what was cool about like I said, Garrett answered me. I was talking to Jim Valley. I was watching Pacific Rim all the time, and it's he's answering me. Holy crap, these people are actually nice. That was something when I was a kid, that was something you only could dream about because it was the person on the TV or on the radio or on the whatever was only accessible by letter or until the internet came along. And even in the early internet days, you maybe stumble. Like I have a friend who actually talked to Colt Cabana in the way back, because it was like old wrestling forums. You could stumble across a wrestler using the internet at the same time as you. And that's how he got turned on to the old world of sport. And that's how that was the wrestling book that I told you about, Sam, the one that's called The Wrestling. Right. That came from his days back in the way back old internet wrestling days. Because wrestlers maximized the internet from the beginning. They were a group of carnies were like, we can use this.
Right.
They knew. Right. They always know. They're always the first to I would, as a hardcore Renaissance festival goer and a wrestling fan, which are come from the same roots, I'd tell you what, watch what the carnies do. They always see the work before anyone else. They know.
That's true.
Because they're out there with the people. And they have to play the game. They're doing the work.
I love that.
Yeah. So, Tom, since we've obviously spent a lot of time talking about podcasting, we'll actually talk about some wrestling on here now. What is your current favorite thing that you are watching, or do you have a favorite storyline or a favorite wrestler that you're really into right now?
I'm loving what they're doing with Hangman Page. I loved his sort of Samoa Joe rivalry and things like that. I'm loving Hangman Page. Just seems to be the guy that I'm like, he's just an everyman. I think you and I spoke about this during our interview, Sam. He's just an everyman that wrestles, if you know what I mean. He's
Exactly.
He's like this generation Stone Cold, personally.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison.
I like what they're doing with Cody.
Yeah.
Oh. I like what they're doing with Cody, but he could do with chasing the belt again, in my opinion.
Yeah, and and he retained last night. Obviously, I didn't. I was covering Collision while Saturday Night's Main Event was on, but I did see some of the stuff that happened there, and so obviously it was really. I kind of figured Cody would retain there, but it does seem like they are maybe going to set up Drew to eventually be the one to take. Do you think that Drew will be the one to take the title off Cody, or do you think they'll do somebody else?
As a UKian, I don't even know if that's a phrase, but you know what I mean. I'd love him to take the belt off him.
I like it.
But I bet you would.
Do you guys agree with this comparison? I saw this the other day, right? Mm-hmm. Drew is this sort of years or Dolph Ziggler. I don't really agree with that comparison, but people have said like Dolph Ziggler, he just gets put in things to take the pin. I can see that comparison, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I can see it, but I think Drew McIntyre's talent is completely different and that's not to put Dolph Ziggler down, but I think Drew is a higher caliber of talent and star than Dolph Ziggler was. And so I think that I don't quite see, I get where they're saying that he does kind of just get put into spots where he can be a champion, but I feel like Drew is actually a credible champion though. So if he were to win, he would be a more credible person than a Dolph Ziggler would be. And so I feel like that's a unfair comparison.
Full audience run.
What was that?
If that makes sense, I'd love to see him get a full obviously last time he was champion was pandemic era. So I'd love to see him get a full in audience run.
Right. Yeah. I think. Yeah, I would too, and I think that I could see that coming and him being the one. So last night they announced during Saturday Night's Main Event that they are going to do a tournament to determine John Cena's final opponent for Saturday Night's Main Event. And they have a list of wrestlers. I don't have it off the top of my head. I can pull it up if I need to. And then there's 5 unknown wrestlers who will most likely be TNA wrestlers, most likely Joe Hendry. And Nick Nemeth has been thrown out there. I've seen Matt Cardona's name thrown out there. Who would you like to see John Cena face in his final match?
And if we're talking WWE, I'd love it to be. I don't even know if he's in the tournament because I didn't see the bracket. I didn't even see the bracket, but I'd love to see Gunther because he sort of retired Goldberg. I'd love to sort of see his gimmick be like the retirer.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that would be cool.
If that makes sense.
Gunther would be he would be and I saw people asking about, hold on. I think I've got the list here of who was already announced. And hang on. I'm waiting for it to load. Let's see here. Okay. So, okay, it's the website, the article keeps loading, and so it's moving it out of the way. Okay, so it looks like so he's mentioned in a video package that it could be his old foes. There's Rusev, Sheamus, The Miz, and Solo Sikoa, but also he's never faced Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, Bronson Reed, Dominic Mysterio, or Penta, and they were also featured in that video. And then, like I said, there's going to be 5 people who aren't signed to WWE, which is why people think it's going to be wrestlers from TNA that would be in it. So of those people, so I'll list them again. It's Rusev, Sheamus, The Miz, Solo Sikoa, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, Bronson Reed, Dominic Mysterio, and Penta. Do you have a favorite out of those?
Bronson Reed would be fun, I think, because that would just continue the visioniness, if you know what I mean.
Right.
That's Jonah, right?
Yes.
Or
yes.
Yeah.
The former Jonah. Yes.
Yeah, okay. It's so funny because this is why I keep kind of quiet on these, is because I don't watch WWE for the most part, right, unless I'm required by some situation that's going on. But so I don't really know everybody that when they switch, I don't know their new gimmick names a lot of the time, and it's hilarious when I am going, because I have to look people up, and I'm like, oh, of course, okay, that's just their WWE name. Got it.
Like that though as well, because I don't watch WWE like consistently. I watch the big pay-per-views and things, but I don't watch, like, how do I put this? The weekly shows I don't watch.
Yeah.
You don't get paid to watch it, like
Sam.
I will watch
pay-per-views. So like,
yes.
Sam wouldn't watch it if she didn't get.
Thank you.
She gets paid to watch it. That's why she watches.
It is true.
Fair.
Yeah, out of
totally
these,
fair, to be honest.
Yeah, Yeah, these names, I was just like, for John Cena's final opponent, like some of these, I was like, I don't know if I would want this person to be his final opponent. Like, I just, I don't know that I'd necessarily want it to be Dominic Mysterio as his final opponent, but I think that Dominic Mysterio, with the current character he is doing, where he's just the sleaze bag cheater.
I wouldn't be mad at it. I'll put it that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at him because he always finds way. Like, it's so funny because last week he even, like, with a straight face, like he's like, I've never cheated in my life. The man, like, just cheated. Like, it's so funny that he's very good at playing this character. And I think, like, I wouldn't want it to be John Cena's final match, but I think he and Dominic Mysterio could have a lot of fun with a match. I think that's really intriguing. But, you know,
I could see it being his final Raw match. I've seen that thrown around.
Oh, yeah, that would be really interesting if they did that. Yeah, and it said some people have said that they had wondered if it would be Edge, but Edge is still under AEW contract, and I think he's just not on TV. But I was like, I don't think WWE and AEW would work out a deal where it would be him. And then I saw a few people mention Chris Jericho, but from my understanding, Jericho is under contract through the end of the year. I don't know if it's just in sometime in December, and so if he would be available for Saturday night's main event or the tournament match, or if it would be if his contract is up after that. And so, but I was like, Chris Jericho would be, if he were available, that would be a really interesting matchup because of I think just because Chris Jericho has been around for so long, and Jericho for a long time was one of the best wrestlers of his generation.
Wasn't he his first pay-per-view match as well?
You know what? I think you're right. So if depending on when his contract is up, I could see him potentially being in this tournament, and then that's how they get to. You could definitely sell some tickets with Chris Jericho versus John Cena and John Cena's final match.
I don't know that for a fact.
I think we might have. Tom, are you still there?
I think I just crashed completely there.
It's okay.
Just for a minute. I think you're back now.
I think you're there. I think we got you.
Yeah. I should have told you guys this off camera, but for whatever reason, my computer doesn't like StreamYard.
Oh no. And unfortunately that's all we use. But if you have to, if StreamYard is affecting, and if you've got to go, that you're more than, if you have to go at any time, or if it kicks you out, that's okay.
No, that's cool. It's cool. I'll probably will stick around for another 5 minutes or so if that's cool with you guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That is
we
cool.
appreciate your time.
Lady B makes a really good point that Matt Cardona and John Cena are really good friends, and so she assumes he'll be in the tournament. I've heard Matt Cardona's name mentioned with this, and I know. Please don't say that, Brad.
What did Brad do?
He's
he's not saying anything about the Dodgers again, is he?
No, he's talking about a potential wrestler they could bring in, and I hope that they don't do that. But yeah, Fernando, I was kind of the same way.
Questionable background.
Yes, it was somebody with a questionable background. That the Marty Skrull is who he's talking about.
Ooh,
gross.
Oh no.
Yeah, I hope Brad don't put that in the universe.
I really, not that I would be surprised, of course, because it's so. But please, Brad.
In the words of Tempest,
that's exactly what I just said. Thank you, Nikki. Nikki and I said the same. She typed the same thing I said at the same time, and I said it in all caps. Thank you, Nikki.
What was that? What were you going to say, Tom?
That would be icky.
It would be icky, and I don't want that. So let's not put that in the universe. But yes, they are having a tournament to identify John Cena's final opponent. It was apparently announced last night during Saturday night's main event. Fernando says that having a tournament to decide who his matches versus a person and not a championship is very stupid. I mean, I didn't think he would have a title match in his last one because he's not going to win. I mean, I guess
I'm not mad at it though. I like it.
Do you?
I'm not mad at it though. I really like the fact they're having a tournament because it shows that Cena's last match is a big deal.
That's a good way to look at it. That's a fair way. So yeah, and then it almost makes me wonder though if they would do someone like a Joe Hendry, because that's somebody that's clearly on his way to WWE and will presumably be a big deal. I mean, I know he's cooled off a little bit. It was probably would have been a better for him if he had been able to sign earlier in the year. But I wonder if having John Cena face somebody like Joe Hendry, who is officially on the way into WWE to wrestle John Cena in his final match. I don't know what that would that be enough to kind of put Joe Hendry over again to make him be the one to retire John Cena. That would be a really interesting way to do it. And I don't know if they would just bring Joe, because I think Joe Hendry, his TNA contract ends in January, I think. So I'm assuming he's going to be in the Rumble, and then that's where he'll be there. But Jermaine says the same thing, that he always thought John Cena's last opponent would be Gunther. And I could definitely see, because Gunther is currently off TV. I absolutely can see him being one of the 5 that they bring in. Mainly
because I want to see how rest his chest would get after all the shots.
Fair enough. Listen, that's a good enough reason for me. And so Lady B said that Obafemi is her vote to win it all. I've seen Obafemi's name come up a lot, and who they think might be one of the 5.
I'm not mad at that either.
Yeah, Obafemi's he's so good. From the little bit I've seen, because I don't watch NXT as much, so I usually only see it when I have to cover it. But from what I've seen of Obafemi, I'm sold. He's so good. I really like him. Nikki says it's going to be Shane McMahon.
I mean,
why are we putting these things out into the universe, guys?
I would take Shane McMahon over Marty Skrull.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
I can't. The reason I can't imagine it is because his dad will probably be there, and him and his dad hate each other. So I don't think that's happening.
That's when that's happening, huh? That's when you expect that to happen.
That's when he's rumored to be in the crowd. Yes, Vinkin said it's gonna be Jey Uso.
Why not?
I mean, I
That's-
like Jey Uso, but not for his last match.
No, not for his last one either. And Nikki said Shane McMahon will blow his quad as soon as he gets into the ring.
Probably blow his quad on the way to the
Oh
stadium.
God, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
That's
and
why you won't
other
be
things
there.
that I've seen a couple people thought maybe it would be Ricky Saints. At least that he'll be in the tournament, not necessarily to be the one to face John Cena, but that they put Ricky Saints into the tournament. And then I've also seen potentially a room that they would like to see Javon Evans in the tournament, which would be amazing. But I don't see him winning. Like the more I think about it, I think I want it to be Gunther. I really like that idea. I bet Obafemi is also like, it's hard to argue against Obafemi too. Like if it's not going to be Gunther, I would take Obafemi.
My nostalgic fantasy booking brain really wants it to be the Adam Copeland / Edge, but my realistic brain is like, no, that's not happening.
No, I don't see it happening.
Don't get your
either.
hopes up.
No, I don't see that one happening either. I think Adam Copeland's little tribute to John Cena that he did in his last pay-per-view match, I think that might have been his little like, here's a little salute to you.
Tip of the cap sort of thing.
Yeah, right. That's how I felt about it. Was just like, obviously it's not in the cards for us to face each other again. Just congratulations on your retirement. Thank you for everything that you've done. And just a little, I felt like that's what that was, which I think is really cool. And so, regardless of the promotion stuff, because obviously a lot of these guys are still, they're still friends with each other. And so to kind of see that respect of somebody like John Cena, who's been around for so long and has done so much for the wrestling business, I think that, that's a really cool thing that people in other promotions are paying respect to him and homage to him as well. And
I did enjoy his attempt at a spear on Sammy. I did think that was fun. Like, I'm not
yes. 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 Yeah, Vinkin, that was not good. There was a CM Punk and Jey Uso. I saw the clip too where they botched a move pretty bad. It happens. Apparently, I didn't see the clip, but apparently Cody and Drew had a botch as well. So it happens. But yeah, didn't look that great. Maria, she said, "How about Cena versus Titus?" Well, at that point, you might as well just make it be. You should make it just R-Truth be the one to retire him.
I think she already said that, didn't she?
You know what? If they hadn't already done the R-Truth feud, I wouldn't have been mad at that.
That popped me when she said that.
I really wouldn't have been mad at that.
No, I wouldn't be mad if they had, like you said, if they had not already done it. I would not have been mad at that either. I think that would have been a really cool thing to tie something back.
It's been around forever.
Yeah, they did some stuff with them already, like you said, but yeah. Yeah, Lady B says she's more interested in what happens in DC after the match. Let's hope they have the self-control to keep the Orange Man away, but they won't. Yeah, probably not.
I would love to be out, but I'm pretty sure that the Jerk-o'-lantern is going to be there, and
he's at least going to be. But do you know the amount of security they'd have to have if he actually showed up?
Do you want to know how little they care about spending our tax
no, I know
dollars?
they don't.
I think he'll be in the crowd.
Yeah, I think
they're literally talking about having a fucking UFC match.
Oh no, they're not. I mean, it's happening. It's not they're talking about it. They're gonna do it. It's already
just gross. It's gross, and I'm grossed out by all the grossness, and that's all. And I don't see how a lot of that.
This is why I stay in jolly old England.
Yeah, no,
you're better off doing that at this point in time.
We all have our problems with our governments right now, but
guys, I do apologize.
No, that's quite all right. Thank you for joining us. You guys, like we said, as soon as our show is done, please go make sure that you follow Tom Talks Rubbish on YouTube. Follow him on Twitter as well. And make sure that we'll let you know when Maya and Mel's interviews drop. And thank you again so much for your time, Tom. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Right, let me fix that.
And also, before we move on to the AEW stuff, since we are talking about WWE, they have belted. They currently have 6 former AEW wrestlers as champion, and 5 of them are former AEW champions. Because last night, because Seth Rollins got injured very dumbly he did a coast to coast and landed on his shoulder and is going to be out for 6 months. So he had to drop the title. CM Punk won the title last night. He beat Jey Uso, which was expected. We knew as soon before they did a tournament to determine CM Punk's opponent, and we all knew Punk was going to win before that. So CM Punk is the champion. Jade Cargill beat Tiffany Stratton to become the WWE Women's Champion. Ricky Saints he won last month, but Ricky Saints is a champion. Cody obviously is the champion. Blake Monroe won the women's title at Halloween Havoc, and then Ethan Page has been the NXT North American champion for a while now. So 6 of their champions are former AEW wrestlers, and like I said, Ethan Page. Out of those, Ethan Page is the only one that never held a title in AEW or ROH. So, wow. Yeah. Yeah, it was funny because I saw I think it was Sean Ross posted a picture of the champions and said something like elite champions or something like that. Like he made a reference to it. And then Mercedes Moné tweeted after the show and after Saturday night's main event ended, and she said AEW is everywhere.
That's pretty funny, actually.
It was really funny, and I retweeted it because I thought it was funny. And
that is wow.
Yeah. It is a wild stuff.
God, it's so par for the course though. At the same time, it's so I'm not surprised at all. There's not. I can't find a shred of shock in my entire being.
No, there's none at all. I just saw the picture and I kind of just chuckled when I saw the picture of the 4 champions last night. Swerve posted it. I guess Swerve saw that picture.
Okay, that's what that. See, I saw that tweet out of context. That makes total sense now, and that tweet is hilarious now.
Yeah, he's tweeted that picture before, but it was him, Ospreay, and Hangman, and he tweeted it no context last night. He tweeted it, and that was what it was referenced to. And then there was a picture of CM Punk, and he was wearing a cowboy hat. And I don't know where the cowboy hat came from. And he's holding a title. And somebody said it was the shittiest Hangman cosplay ever.
That's
right. Exactly.
Just did Hangman cosplay, essentially, who dressed up as Hangman.
I don't know where the hat came from. He didn't come to the ring with it. So I don't know if somebody in the crowd put it on his head because he was leaning up against the barricade. I didn't watch, so I don't know.
And anyway, here's a little fun fact because
even better. Lady B says the hat came from Post Malone.
Oh my God, I love you so much. You were the one I saw retweeted that picture and said this is subtle, and I was like, what did I miss? And now I have it all. Thank you, Lady B. Thank you.
And yes, real quick, Tom is in the chat, and he said thank you for having him on. Much love to both of you, and he said he apologizes for his internet issues. Not a problem. Thank you for being here with us. We really appreciate it. So thank you again for your time today.
Thank you. We have internet issues are a podcast.
I have internet issues all the time for just random reasons. So I get it.
As a podcaster, I think that we can universally agree that internet issues are something that we in perpetuity must deal with. It is it's part of the job.
It is part of the job. Yes.
And then it gives us, what else would we make fun of and be annoyed with? It's not as if we have content.
I had my problems. Right. So we get it.
Yeah, remember Sam had a year-long beef with her freaking microphone.
I don't use a microphone anymore because of our year-long feud, that I was just like, you know what? I'm just not going to use the microphone. So there you go.
Microphone's a prop now.
Sam
can use that microphone if she wants to, and she could incorporate it into a gimmick, and she could drop that microphone.
I could.
She never uses it again. This is yours.
So I think that's it for WWE talk today.
Yeah.
We covered the
Wrap
big
that
stuff.
up.
But let's get into why the women can't have anything nice in AEW, which is
let's
what
get
I
into what
literally-
everyone was here
That's
for,
li-
aside from enjoying
Yeah.
a good conversation with Tom. Because
right. That
oh
is
my gosh, Sam, it's so funny when I'm in the Discord because you're not in there, and
I need to do it. I need to just
no,
join
it's
this.
okay. It's so fun. It's actually kind of a funny gimmick because I am in there on the threads and stuff. And so
Yeah.
I like weigh in on your behalf, and it's like, and people like
Appreciate
Lady
that.
B and others, they're like, oh, good, Mel's here to represent. And it's like, oh,
Yeah, we got a
Sam's not
tweet
gonna-
last night from Lady B saying that she couldn't wait to hear,
well, because
what we
I was
had to-
backing her up in the chat, both on Dynamite and then a little bit on Collision, but on Dynamite, she said something at one point, and we popped in at like the same time with a similar thought. She's like, this is why I need Mel here backing me up. And I'm like,
I bet I know what that reason was for, because I tend to just, because I try to be on Twitter less. So I typically post
on
live
Blue Sky.
reactions on Blue Sky for
Always.
for Dynamite. Obviously I do live coverage for Collision, so I am not on the intranets. During that time, I usually will give thoughts afterwards. Then I do use Twitter for ROH just because that's where the 12 of us is on Twitter.
Of course.
So, and that is where ROH follows me. So, and to just hold Tony accountable for ROH, because I know he's there unless he has a burner on Blue Sky. I don't believe he's over there. So I'm like, well, I know he'll see ROH tweets over here. So, and then sometimes things happen on Dynamite that make me angry enough that I have to come to Twitter. I have to leave Blue Sky and put my Twitter and come to Twitter to leave thoughts. And that's what happened this week. So like I was already annoyed by the time it got to the men's announcement, because they did the 4-way to determine Brodito's opponents at Full Gear, and instead of it being Jurassic Express,
It's
FTR.
effing FTR.
Getting another title shot.
Why?
Apparently they blocked out when FTR was champions. That's when the tag team division started to go downhill, because they were not putting anybody over. They were hogging everything in the matches. That's when the tag team tournament really started to die, and that's when people really started complaining about FTR. Not just me, because I complain about them all the time, but that's when people were like, you know what, this is
your bias notwithstanding. This is
yes,
actual beef. No, this is legit beef here.
So of course I am not thrilled at all. Like I don't know that Brodito will drop the titles, because Tony Khan loves Bandito. Like he loves that man. But also, like Nikki pointed out, Bandito has some shoulder issues, and I don't know if they're bad enough that he's going to have to take time off or anything like that, or if it's bad enough where maybe they don't want him constantly out there because he has to defend his titles. Because he's also, as he retained against Mascara Dorada last night,
right?
He is also the ROH men's world champion.
Mm-hmm.
So he's holding 2 titles, and he defends, obviously, the tag team titles pretty often. So I don't know maybe they don't want him defending so much. Maybe they're going to take the titles off of him, but I really, really hope they're not going to make FTR champions again.
Okay, but then make Jurassic Park. Then make Jurassic Express put them over
would
instead.
much rather
That's
have
new.
it be them.
They're way over. People are loving that they're back together. Put them over. Let them have, even if it's a short run, let them have a short run and do whatever. I don't care if they want to take it off of him. Why does it have to be FTR again? We just saw this.
Yeah, exactly.
We
so
literally just saw it.
So I was already super annoyed with FTR winning, and I'm already like I'm annoyed that we're doing. We got to it towards the end. So this episode of Dynamite really annoyed me with a lot of the things that they did. So obviously they made the announcement that they're doing a men's blood and guts. And Orange Cassidy's and Benny is, I don't think Benny's in the chat with us right now, but Benny was the one I saw pointed out. And I actually had even thought about it, but the way Orange Cassidy announced it, where he sighed and said blood and guts, and that's clearly where the slate for this came from. That's how a lot of us felt when we found out we were getting
that's what the tweet was. He announced it the way all of us felt about a men's blood and guts being a thing.
Right. Which is exactly, except for I sighed, but then I was angry. But the reason I'm angry is because, and if you, Mel and I actually did an interview or did a fun chat with Dr. Leary over at the Prescription. And we talked about this the day after. So you'll get a lot of visceral, I mean, we'll talk about a lot here, but if you want like visceral reaction 24 hours later, you can hear it there. We were really hot about it, and I still am hot about it because it feels like the goalposts get moved for the women constantly. Mm-hmm. Like they have to, Tony makes these women prove themselves to him, and then when they meet those expectations, he moves the goalposts even further. And this tells me that and I don't want to hear any bullshit about low ticket sales, and
God, leaving that sick of that excuse.
Because if you are Tony,
you announced Jamie Hayter screamed blood and guts 6 weeks ago, and you did nothing to build it, and then you started the tag team tournament. Of course, you're not going to sell tickets to something that nobody knows who's on the fucking card.
And this pay-per-view is 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. The economy is shit, and now people can't feed themselves. So we have to take all of that into consideration. And they just took away
people's benefits right at the beginning of.
We have to take all that into consideration. But you also, so aside from the economy issues, because that's going to be an issue for any Dynamite
forever.
But so that you can't just blame it on that. It's not great, everything that adds up with it. But like, it's a Wednesday night, which of course all Dynamites are. But like, I have friends who want to come to the show, but they live in South Carolina. They're not even having to drive to Charlotte. They would have to drive to Greensboro. And they're teachers. They can't, there's no way that they can leave. They can't take a day off work to go to the show or take the day off after to travel back home. Like they can't do that. And so, and of course, and I know that's with every Dynamite, every Wednesday is going to have an issue where people can't go to it because it's the middle of the week. But for you announce this historic match for women, and then you never talk about it hardly ever, except for when you pop up the graphic to remind people that tickets are on sale for it. And you do, yes, I mean, you had Jamie and Queen Aminata jumping Triangle of Madness like every week because they won't give them an answer. But like, there's literally no matches announced.
No bill,
beyond
no matches,
how do
no
you sell
feud.
Tickets to that? So I don't miss me with the bullshit about the low tickets. Because going back and looking at the media call, Tony was asked by Jason Powell. Jason prefaced his question with, "I don't know if you want to answer this question," which tells me the rumors had already been leaked that Tony was going to do a men's blood and guts, because he asked him specifically about a men's blood and guts. And I think I have it screenshot because I had posted it on Russell Sky. Russell Sky on Blue Sky. And
okay.
Russell Sky is the hashtag that we use there.
Yeah, right.
So Tony said, "There are great rivalries in the men's locker room, but the women have been really competitive this year. He believes that both men and women will settle things in blood and guts matches. There could be men and women's blood and gut matches in the future. They need to see who's still standing after Wrestle Dream to see what happens with blood and guts." So that tells me this was the plan all along. Because if Jason Powell knew to ask that question, it's probably because it was at least teased or rumored or he heard something, because a lot of us have sources and we hear things. So that tells me he had heard something, and that, of course, Tony can't say on the call, "Yes, this is what we're doing." But the way they built it up, even though Death Riders have already had a cage match this year, on top of that, we're getting another one. Why?
Our good friend Jeremy Pinestone over at the Speaking of Strong Style show there has been a staunch advocate of how badly Tony has booked the women's division since the beginning, and that this is just another product of how he's done that. And he is very he's one of the first people to get as miffed as I was.
Yeah.
In our actual live thread, but he has been like standing by it, and he actually made the point in our Collision thread is he's like, this makes the women's blood and guts match an afterthought. It literally makes it an afterthought.
It does.
Even if it main evented, it makes it an afterthought, and it made it so that it seemed like the women couldn't stand on their own. And I was like, he has been problem. he has been like mad. I mean, it's been awesome to actually, because his points, he like bullet pointed how they've effed up the women's situation. If you're in our Discord, he had a great little rant in our Discord thread from the Dynamite thing where he was like, here's how they've messed up. Like, it was like 6 points of like how AEW has just blown it with the women. And he made the specific point about how Jamie said that. And then instead of building for blood and guts for the women, like they were for the men the whole time, because nobody was surprised. Jeff Hawkins and Paul Fontaine weren't surprised. Jeremy wasn't surprised. A bunch of people in our
I'm not
thread
surprised.
were like,
it's just annoying. Like I said, they keep moving goalposts.
Of course.
For the women, because Tony spent before the last year and a half or so, maybe 2 years. So he spent the first 4.5 years of AEW treating the women's division like it was a checklist.
Yes.
So you have taught your fans not
Yes.
to invest in that. So then that tells me when you book a men's blood and guts match on the same night that the women are supposed to have their first, that tells me you don't trust the women enough to carry that. And I said it in the interview the other day, and again, I don't know these women. Maybe they don't think this at all, but I don't know how you are a woman in that locker room knowing that your boss doesn't believe in you enough to carry a show on your own. And what's going to happen is these women are going to go out there and they're going to kill it. And they're going to prove all of us right who have been begging for this. And it's still not going to be enough for Tony. And Tony makes this, he kept saying, you know, the women have to be healthy. The women have to be healthy. The women have to be healthy. If that's the case, why did you book Blood and Guts and the women's tag team tournament at the same time? Because now you have Penelope who is injured. But where did Penelope get injured? Not in a steel cage. She got injured in a random tag team match on television, which happens all the time. I mean, look at Nick Wayne. But you constantly preach, oh, women have to, I'm not going to do this until all the women are healthy. Well, why did you book these both at the same time then? There was no reason. You're trying to cram everything in before the C2. I would have been fine with the women tag team tournament not starting until February. Start after the C2.
Well, and he made the point. Go ahead.
I was going to say, because you already have, like, people are excited about the C2 every single year. People are already talking about who they want to be in it. They are looking at some people. So why not just wait and put the women's tournament next year? Let people build blood and guts for the women in the same way that you've built it for the men. Don't have the tag team titles have anything to do with this. But now you're cramming it all together, and now now they're both affecting the other. And so because Penelope is injured, they waited, and you can't say, and you can be like, oh, well, they didn't make the announcement because Penelope was injured. They had a month. The tournament hadn't even started yet. You could have announced right within a week. You could have announced because who are going to be the participants, because you've been building this story for months by having these not random, but by having these multi-women matches. Well, it seemed very obvious that it was going to lead to a blood and guts. So do the blood and guts first, and then go into the new year and start your tournament and stop making them rely on the other one. And so I think that it feels like they
should have saved the tag teams for the beginning of next year.
Yeah, I would have said that.
This is two separate things. You could have built the blood and guts and done the tag team tournament in the beginning of next year. We're all at the end of the year. We're going to have a bunch of you guys are doing a New Year's Eve spectacular thing. You're doing a bunch of stuff. You got full gear coming up. Do the blood and guts. Do full gear. Start the tournament. Why is this so hard? Like this,
I don't understand. It's not the fans'
and Jeremy
fault,
even
Maria.
made the point.
Tony Khan's fault. Tony Khan is the booker. He says, when I do things wrong, blame me. When I do things right, blame me. This is not on the fans have been begging for women's tag teams for years. That's not on us for that. That's on Tony Khan for booking it the way that he has. And I'm not picking on you, Maria. It's not the fans' fault. It's Tony Khan's fault for the way he has booked the women for the entirety of AEW's history. And then
it really goes back to the beginning, and that's what I think Jeremy's points about it were great. And he even made the point that was the point that I have been making along the way, and he reminded me, and which is essentially Tony was the one who came out and told us in the beginning that he wasn't going to treat the women as an afterthought, and that he was going to have real women. That was the pitch. was that AEW was going to be different. It was going to have ladies wrestling, and they were going to be doing it, and they were going to be on the same level as the men and all that. It's taken until this champion, this Hangman version, for someone to delineate between the men's and women's world championship.
Women, I know Full Gear is coming up, but as of November 2nd and as of Blood and Guts, when it happens on November the 12th, the women have never main evented a freaking pay-per-view.
In 6 years.
In 6 years. So yes, this is an indictment on Tony Khan and the way that he presents women. And yes, he's improved a lot, and there are a lot of positives, and we talk about it. I was like, but this is why I always say I'm cautiously optimistic when it comes to the women's division, because it's a bullshit like this. Because he gives us these things and he dangles them, and then the rollout is crazy. But the rollout feels to me, you don't trust the women. And
I think you can have both. I think you can give the fans the tag team titles that they've been asking for in January and February.
You don't have
still
to do it
build
all
Blood
at one
and
time.
Guts. That's been something that's been building for, minimum of 4 years, because you've actually got, even if you take out the first 2 years, you've got a bunch of the women doing more hardcore and different styles of matches by year 3.
Mm-hmm.
And you started actually, I think Kenny had good intentions booking the women's division, but it was rough because they did run up against the pandemic. But again, we still, like you said, it's the checklist factor. Is like, oh shit, I forgot to book a women's match. How many times has that happened where it was like the Dynamite card
so
was
many
set,
times where it felt like that, because
Dynamite card was set, every single match is set, and there's no women's match on the card except until Tuesday night or sometime during the day on Wednesday.
And that's what I think. That's part of the reason I was timing matches, because women were getting 4-minute matches at 9.
Sam, you were doing that to piss off Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez.
Yes, I was doing mainly for that. You think, don't tell people that real reason why was really that. Not to make not because I was doing actual research for.
That's my joke. That's my joke for me.
not because of that. The real my cover story was
stopwatch people.
My cover was that I was doing it for Daily DDT for a story, when in actuality it was to piss off Dave Meltzer and Kevin Kelly.
It was explicitly Sam lets Dave and Brian live rent-free in her head so much that she was sitting around. It had nothing to do with having someone that looks and sounds.
And nobody else, no other women had ever timed matches before me.
No, never, ever. Not ever. Never, ever. That's why Sam and I, our tag team, is
from 2 other women who did it before I did.
No, yeah, right. Sam was the first. No one's ever thought of that. But and again, you all get lopped into the one jumble of you stopwatch people, who we all know who you are. You stopwatch people. Oh my God, that's why. See, Mike Gilbert's still on us to do timekeepers. One day, you know what?
One day we'll have some timekeepers.
One day, either as a Halloween costume or as a just funny gimmick day, maybe like on our 300 billionth episode or something.
Right.
We can dress up as our gimmick. We can come up with our own timekeepers gimmick. And we can, and I don't know, I would channel like the Outrunners or something, because that's just
perfect.
But you could do yours and I could do mine. We could surprise each other on what our gimmick looked like. And then we could see if we could coexist and all that crap. Sorry, I had to go on that tangent.
No,
I really do believe that this was not cool, because I think that I'm happy that there are women tag teams out, and then we got to that point.
Of course,
I'm
super happy about them.
And I wish that they had saved it for the beginning of next year as part of building up next year's
storylines. I don't, knock on wood, I doubt it's happening. But
she is the alpha.
Unless we're getting a women's C2 next year. So he had to cram in a tournament.
I would love that, but I don't feel really confident after what
happened.
No,
I don't either. In a way, it's because the women deserve to have something of their own without the men being involved. That's my whole the men's match will be. I'm going to enjoy it.
Great.
I bought tickets to this show on the premise that women were having their first ever Blood and Guts match. I didn't buy it because I thought the men were going to have a match too, or if it was the men's own. That's not why I bought tickets. I bought tickets because women were going to be on Blood and Guts and have their first ever Blood and Guts match. A friend of ours is going. He also bought tickets for the exact same reason. We are both driving. I'm driving, and no, an hour and a half is not that far away, but we are going to another city
but
in our
gas is not
state
cheap.
because we wanted to see women. And yes, we are still getting that match, but we didn't buy tickets because we thought there was going to be a men's blood and guts. We bought tickets based on the women. And so I was like, and so my annoyance with all of this is that the women can't have anything on their own. And it feels to me like Tony Khan does not trust the women to carry a show, so if you don't trust them to have a blood and guts match, that tells me that how do you trust them to main event a pay-per-view? Because you're going to have to sell tickets to a pay-per-view with women main eventing. And so are you actually going to do it? Are you actually going to make Chris and Mercedes, even though that is the story and we seem to be headed that way? Do you trust Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander enough to main event your pay-per-view, to sell tickets? Do you trust them enough? You have it where it's, granted, we're 3 weeks away and we're still building things out, but they haven't announced that that's the main event. Are you going to wait and do it during the media call? Is that when you're going to announce it? Or are you going to announce it before then? Do you trust the women enough that if you're letting them main event Full Gear, are you going to give people enough time? Or are you going to wait until the last minute and be like, oh, by the way, the women are finally going to main event a pay-per-view for the first time?
Like they did with Athena in ROH. Like the exact same gimmick.
Yeah.
The bait and switch when they realized that people genuinely actually wanted to sign up for that because of Athena, and then they didn't end up buying the pay-per-view, and then the women, and then it came out. Then they said it was going to be a double main event, and then during the show itself is when they finally announced that Athena would be closing the show. So are you going to respect Chris and Mercedes enough to, if they are in fact main eventing Full Gear, are you going to tell us? Well, if he can't commit to it, why would your fans? Because that's the leadership
during the media call.
I mean, if he can't commit to it as the leader of the thing, well, that's what everybody is gonna like. You know what I mean? That it's just like what we're dealing with right now. Whether it's good or bad, people in leadership are a bunch of dum-dums who act badly. So that means that the rest of society runs around acting badly because the people in charge are acting badly. So if Tony doesn't feel confident about it, why would his audience feel comfortable about it?
Right.
That's going to reflect. I said that. Yeah. I
saw that. I was up at a different comment that I was going to post. And so
that was fine. I saw it and I agree 100%.
It's so, and it's nothing against the men wrestler. Like I like the men in that match.
I would love that.
I'm gonna enjoy. Like I know the men are gonna kill it. I'm gonna enjoy that match, and I'm gonna go into the show and I'm gonna have a good time, and I know I'm gonna have fun. It's the fact that it's everything else, and the wrestler it goes back to what I say about ROH all the time with the way they build pay-per-view cards. It's never on the talent. I know that talent is I know they're going to deliver. And I know those women, I know that women's main event, that women's blood and guts match is probably going to be better than the men's blood and guts match. And I think Tony Khan knows that too. He just doesn't want to admit it. Yeah. And somebody made the point that, and maybe it does have a little bit to do with it. He was like, I think part of it is, fake people on the IWC. They say they want all this stuff for women, but then they won't go support it. Like they won't buy the tickets. But also in this economy, I don't expect people to fly. Would I love to see people come from all over to celebrate this women's blood and guts match like they do a pay-per-view? Of course. But I also know the reality of this economy, and doing a show 2 weeks before a holiday when people are probably going to be traveling for Thanksgiving, they're not going to be able to afford to fly to a wrestling show as well. And so, but yes, there probably is a little bit of truth to that, where people say that they want these things on the internet and then don't follow through. That obviously, but I think that's a very, very small percentage of what's happening here. It feels just so much like Tony does not trust the women enough to give them this spot, that he can't let them. It's a Dynamite. It's not even a pay-per-view, and you can't trust them enough to sell tickets to. You can't trust them enough to bring in ratings, for that matter. Not even selling tickets. Do you trust them enough to bring in the ratings?
The ticket sales aren't on the talent. Ticket sales are on promoting the event.
Right, which somebody has pointed out to me, and I had seen it. AEW currently has an opening for a live events marketing person. So if they had somebody who was good at their job, then they would market this like the historic match that it is. They would book it like it's practically Evolution. You would book it as a really big deal, not just some random Dynamite in November. You would book it to be what it is, what it truly is, which is a historic thing for the women to do. And so now it's just, I think it's just extremely frustrating because it feels like it keeps happening. Like we get really excited about what's happening in the women's division, and then somebody snatches the rug out from under us, or they're like, oh, well, you can have this, or you can have the women's main blood and guts, but we're also going to have a men's blood and guts. You can, the women can main event ROH, but it's going to be a double main event, or in All In's case, it's a triple main event. You can have this, and then it's some way to shoehorn them in there. And so that's the issue with it. And for me, and I think, and like I said on the interview that we did, it's so frustrating because this is a company I choose to watch. I mean, yes, I do cover Collision and I do help out with pay-per-view coverage. But this is a company that I have chosen to invest in for 6 years. I chose to go to All In before AEW existed. This is a company that I, much like New Japan, that I invest in. So it is super frustrating to have this conversation multiple times over 6 years and to make me feel like women's wrestling is not important to you, or it gets to a point where it's somewhat important, but then you move the goalposts to make it further. And so it's just
deflating. It's that same. And it's kind of the part for that sort of like in all media spaces where they set the women up for failure and then they're like, see, no one wants to see women. And it's like, well,
you're setting them up for failure, which is exactly what they do.
They do it with everything.
That WWE did with Evolution. They set it up for failure because they put Evolution 2 in the same town across the street from a Beyonce concert on the same weekend, where 45 minutes away they were having the MLB All-Star Weekend. And yes, like me and Keela are like the two people that would be happy about all three of those things, and we'd be conflicted. And yes, I know it's a very small crossover, but you're setting them up for failure. And so in this way, it feels like when you announce a match and wait a month and don't announce anything else, and then you wonder why
anything. You didn't do anything.
You didn't do anything other than you have Queen Aminata and
you had someone say something
Triangle. And they wouldn't even in all these times that Triangle of Madness were getting jumped, none of them were saying, you know what, I'm fed up with this. Let's meet in the cage. Like, that didn't even happen. We got the announcement last night on Collision, and we got an expanded one because presumably because Penelope is injured. And so now we have, so I guess Mercedes and Tony were always going to be part of this, but they do kind of just feel like, it also kind of feels like I pissed off a lot of women's wrestling fans. Let me add Tony and Mercedes to this. It kind of
sure did piss them off.
Maybe that was the plan all along, but you could have announced it weeks ago. You could have announced it before the men's match, which was the whole thing. Like the men's match got announced and we immediately got a graphic of everybody who's in it. The women's match got announced a month earlier and we have no clue. I mean, you could just putting together what happens watching the show on a weekly basis. Yes, you could figure out who's going to be in it, but it wasn't announced. And so you are using
it wasn't being promoted actively as these are the reasons why these women are doing this to each other.
Right.
Which is easy enough to drop on the broadcast table and actually like build that on your commentary, put that in the same as you're doing with everything else.
Right. So then you sell this match with the men by putting John Moxley, who was a former champion and arguably one of your biggest stars, you put him out there and announce it in hopes to sell tickets instead of, sorry, I just had an Amber Alert come up on I don't know if that's picking up on camera. But why not announce the women? If you were going to have Tony and Mercedes the whole time, why not go ahead and announce that? You are going to sell tickets off of Tony and Mercedes. Why didn't you announce that?
I think you're going to sell some tickets with that.
Weeks ago. So, yeah, exactly. Lady B said the same thing. If Tony and Monet were gonna be in the match originally, they should have announced it ahead of time, or at least that's what she would guess. So it does
That
feel
would make
like
tons of sense. Tony is so freaking over. I don't understand why you wouldn't do that anyway. So that's just silly. That's madness. It seems like your focus continues to be elsewhere.
right. And Nikki makes a really good point. Considering he only uses the same women over and over, I guess we already knew who was going to be in it. Yeah, you could have. I mean, You could have put Nyla in here. You could put Sheeta in here. You could have put Yuka Sakazaki in here. You could have put. You could have put Emmy in here. You could have put all kinds of people, but. And that's nothing against these women. These women have worked really hard and should be in this match. They have been the ones who are on TV week in and week out. But it is also using a lot of the same women. And yes, Yuka should have. I don't know how you have a cage match and don't put Yuka in it. So then we finally. So after they of course they announced this men's match, which will be Death Riders versus Orange Cassidy, Roddy Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Mark Briscoe, and Darby Allin. When Darby and Jon Moxley just had
that crazy I quit match.
Had an I quit match.
So they don't even really need to be doing another hardcore match together.
No, they don't need to be having. You don't need to do a cage match. But
just had a hardcore match.
Yes, they did. But apparently we need more because
we had to protect the children from it. We can't do this.
And he likes to. I mean,
what about the children?
Who cares at this point? Tony doesn't care. What about the women is what it should. But how dare you put women in a cage match? But then you have. I mean, he is already repeating things. We're already doing, which was another thing that annoyed me on Dynamite was I knew we were doing it, but you just had Samoa Joe go. I mean, Hangman Page cut this promo. Whenever I find you, I'm going to ruin your life, making it seem like, okay, maybe we're not running back Hangman and Samoa Joe right away. And then Samoa Joe wins a tournament match or a 4-way match to get this. So now we're repeating the same match we had last week, which I get. Samoa Joe turned heel. Of course, you're going to want to have Hangman's going to want to, face him again. But we're getting that again. We're getting Chris versus Mercedes 3, which luckily has had some time between it. We're not doing it back to back. Then you also have Mark Briscoe come challenge Kyle Fletcher, which Don Callis thankfully said no, but they nearly ran that back again. So, why are we doing repetitive matches, especially when Full Gear was one of your when you only did 4 pay-per-views? Full Gear was one of your 4, and so Full Gear is a big pay-per-view, and so why are we running back matches we've already done before? So I'm not thrilled with Samoa Joe and Hangman Page. I get it. I know what we're doing. Thankfully, I mean, it took a while to get there, but thankfully Hangman doing the blindside thing where he blindsided, he was dressed up as Tony Schiavone, or as Tom Green, not that Tom Green said that he saw somebody say we should call him Pony Schiavone, which made me laugh. That they just Pony Schiavone. But so then we have Pony Schiavone come in. And so thankfully that at least made me not end the night in a super foul mood. But I was very annoyed by just basically the entire
it was deflating. Episode. I think the universal, the Discord thread felt like, I think we talked about the other day, is it just felt like wind out of your sails, man. It was like, it felt like Orange, like Benny said, it felt like exactly the way that Orange Cassidy announced it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt about it. And so now we get, obviously, last night on Collision, so we had to get to and it was unfortunate. I was already annoyed. And then poor Penelope has to announce that she is injured. She got injured in her tag team tournament match, not in a cage match, in a regular match on Dynamite. She is out indefinitely with a torn UCL. And a baseball player, that would likely mean Tommy John surgery. So that's what that injury is. It's a ligament in your arm. But there are different ways to treat it. She may not, depending on how bad it is, maybe she doesn't need surgery. Hopefully not, but she did say she's out indefinitely. So they probably won't know until until the swelling goes down and they know more about it. But obviously it's enough to take her out of Blood and Guts and to take her out of the tournament. So Megan Bayne was like, well, who is going to step up? And we got an immediate answer, Marina Shafir. And Jon Moxley loves it. John Moxley's like, let me get my comedy bits then, and I'm hyped. And so then last night, Marina and Megan Bayne had their first ever tag team match on Collision with John Moxley on commentary, who was yelling, "Light her up," which was great. He's super into it. And he says on commentary, we can't find anybody to wrestle Marina. That's why she hasn't wrestled this year. Nobody wants to get in the ring with her. They're all afraid of her. This is why Marina's never had a match since she's been with the Death Riders. She has, by the way, maybe John Moxley probably doesn't watch Ring of Honor, but she and Yuta have had a couple of matches in Ring of Honor. So she has had some matches over in Ring of Honor as of late. Her and Wheeler Yuta have teamed up to do a couple of the matches there. But so they had their first match last night. Marina kind of tried to, at the beginning, seem like she was trying to run the show, and Megan Bayne was like, "I am the boss. Ask Penelope. Like, I run things. Get it back together." They faced Nixon Newell, who is the former Tegan Knox, and Miranda Alizé, who I missed Brad's comment last week, is apparently a person who believes Tylenol causes autism. So,
oh, lovely.
So yeah. So there's that. And then Brad says, never bring back Miranda and Nixon. Keep the autism denier out of AEW, and Nixon didn't look great. Yeah, Nixon looked a little rough. I don't know how often she's been wrestling. Maybe she's doing indie things. And also it could just be that Megan Bayne and Marina are better wrestlers. That could also be it too. And they only got 2 minutes and 26 seconds. There's also that. So
Dude, shout out to our autistic friends, because their disease is being used as a political tool so bad right now.
And now if you didn't see it, RFK Jr. is walking it back. He's saying
I know he is. I'm not surprised.
No, I'm just saying. So of course, I don't know. Maybe somebody should show Miranda that RFK is.
I just feel terrible. I have so many people that even I just know personally, but I mean, anytime anybody's using anybody's disease at a tool like that, it's gross. There's a lot of people out there that legitimately have to manage that disease on the daily basis, whether it's parents or your friends, that's BS. Like, stop it. It's hard enough, like, on us poor disabled. We're out here like trying to deal with this stuff, and you're just using this one specific thing as such a political tool. Fix the environment. Maybe that might give you a whole lot. I know that's a liberal hoax too, but whatever.
Right, of course.
Stop it. So
that was
we see you guys. I'm really sorry. It's stupid.
Yes, we do. But yeah,
sorry,
that's okay. So after that match, that's when we finally. So Friday night, Tony Khan makes an announcement for his announcement. Like, you should have put up the Tony Khan makes an announcement graphic, because he made an announcement he went live on Twitter. Apparently, I didn't watch the video because I was on live coverage for SmackDown, but apparently it was like yes, he did. He had an important announcement. So he had like a 9-minute video where he, I guess, needed to he confirmed that the women were actually having a blood and guts, I guess, by the men's announcement, that some people did not thought that meant the women were not getting a match. But he clarified that no, they are getting one. We just announced the men's one first. But we're going to do an expanded women's match. And so we get the announcement. They have Renee do this video package where she's narrating the package that we're getting. And so we finally know our teams 10 days before the show. Actually, well, it was last night, so technically 11 days before the show. So we now know for sure that Jamie Hayter, who is the one who made the announcement, she and Queen Aminata will be teaming up with Harley Cameron, Willow Nightingale, Toni Storm, and the women's world champion, Chris Statlander. On the other side of the cage, we will have the Triangle of Madness, which is obviously Tekla, Julia, and Sky, with Megan Bayne, her new partner, Marina, and the TBS champion, Mercedes Moné. That is who will be in our cage match that we're finally getting. So, yeah, at least the video was well done. Yes, thankfully for that. And so the match is, stacked. It's a ton of incredible women, made even more incredible by having both Chris and Mercedes, who are your champions, having them in this match. Did this match necessarily need it? Probably not, and that's nothing against Chris and Mercedes because I obviously am fans of them. But for the story that's been told for weeks, with all the mixed for all the matches that they were having, the All-Star matches they were having, it would have been enough for me to have those women in there. I'm not mad at Chris and Mercedes, but it does kind of feel like, let's put Chris and Mercedes in here.
Necessarily need to.
Let's sell some tickets. I mean, I'm not going to blame Jon Moxley for that, Michael. Michael says this is the second time we've seen Jon Moxley has been involved in robbing the women of the spotlight, the Hollywood ending main event, and now the blood and guts. He sees the pattern. I see that Tony relies on Jon Moxley too much is what I see.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I mean, that it is Jon Moxley in that situation, but the bottom line is that that's a Tony Khan decision at the end of the night. I mean, that
all of this is.
And he's even said his mind. He's made it clear as day that that's.
He literally just said this on a media call like 2 or 3 calls ago. Like, all decisions come through me for better or worse. If you like something, then you would say Tony Khan did great. If you didn't like something, I didn't like Tony Khan booking that. Tony Khan makes the final decision on everything. So yes,
and boss is the boss. I mean, that's the way it goes.
You can blame. I mean, sure that maybe some of the writing hasn't been great, and we're forcing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that certain talent doesn't have an influence on him. That's
Lady B made a comment.
Behavior.
Lady B made a comment earlier that they keep shoving all the women's story, all their stuff together. It's it's the match in the storyline or storyline in a match. Like, they don't separate it throughout the show. It generally comes all in one section, which is what they've kind of always done, which is unfortunate. And so, yes, of course, I'm super happy we get more backstage segments and more stuff. Even last week when we got the in-ring stuff with Mercedes and Athena, like, we got that before the match, but like, it all comes there. So, it's unfortunate, but who books that? Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Who help? I mean, sure, maybe some people help him lay out the show, like with agents.
Well, and again, I'm sure that there's certain people that humans are humans. You're going to favor the people you favor, and you're going to have your little things that you do and whatever else. I think it's more what you said is that I don't think Jon Moxley's over here like put me over the women. I think that's more like Tony telling Moxley to do all that stuff, and Jon Moxley's doing his job.
Right. And I think, and part of that was Jon Moxley was the champion at time, but that obviously, but I will still,
I think we're ready to let everybody. He totally saved the promotion during some really effed up times, but I think it's time that we can take the training wheels off of everybody. We can take the Moxley wheels off of everybody. And we can let some of these people that were day one people too start to fly. Like Jurassic Express should have been in that freaking tag team. That they're so over right now. I don't care if they win or lose. And it's helping the tag division. And Jack Perry being back is a big deal.
It is a big deal. They're super over, and I'm really like that. To me, it's just I don't get whatever that decision is. I'm like, that's a choice. I just don't know. I don't get that one. I mean, that's not even the like with the FTR bias and all those other things notwithstanding. I just don't. That's dumb. Yeah,
I just don't like it.
Out of all of those tag teams, that's not who I want to see getting. And I really, really hope that, and we'll talk about it obviously more when we get to the Full Gear pre-show, but I really hope that Brodito is not dropping the titles to them again. I know that Bandito's shoulder is probably a concern. I don't know how serious it is, but he's clearly, like, you can tell he's been wrestling with a Katie Tate. It was the other shoulder last night that he landed on hard, and kind of doing that. And Lady B, I'm kicking you out.
No. You're allowed. I mean, if you are just on to them, I totally get it. I
hate them for so many
reasons. They're so played out for me right now because I discovered them so many years ago that I've seen them with all I know you have a different perspective.
No, I mean before that, no, but I didn't care for them in WWE. I thought they were boring, and I felt like they were not my cup of tea. I just did not care for them. And then I heard, after they left, and I heard about some of the shitty treatment they had, and I was like, man, I hope if they come to AEW, things come better. And then they tried to steal my friend's gimmick. And so I was like, never mind. Forget that. You tried to steal an established gimmick that had been around for 5 years because you thought nobody would know who they were. And then when you got called out for it, you tried to say that it turned into this whole thing, and it was not great. And they were assholes about it when they got called out for it. And then it turns out that they are just kind of Dax is an asshole. Like, that's just, apparently he's just
You're
an
kind
asshole.
of
Like,
from.
I've seen the way they act on the internet. Dax talks way too damn much all the time. Just, I appreciate what they did for the community of Asheville during the Hurricane Helene. Like, I really appreciate them. So like I appreciate. For them in general, I don't want to see them wrestle. I have to cover half-hour matches of them on a regular basis. I don't care for them, and they have come off as assholes, and they tried to steal my friend's gimmick and then tried to take it into AEW and use it as their own gimmick, and then they got called out for it. So I hate them. I can't stand them. And then it's just seeing the play. And then I feel like the tag team division, when they were champions, I feel like the division really suffered when they were champions because they were not putting anybody over. They were putting themselves over and having the matches that they wanted to have. They didn't give a shit about the other opponents. And I just felt like that. And I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people who hated FTR as champions because of the way the division fell apart. And that's when that division really faltered. And it took a long time. I'm well aware, but I explained to you my reasons. You don't have to agree with me, but you asked why I don't like them, and that is why I don't like them. But they legitimately friends of mine had a gimmick, and they legitimately tried to steal their gimmick. They went on Chris Jericho's podcast using their gimmick. They also put out a video, and they stole part of the intro of their music. They knew exactly what they were doing, and then they tried to deny it when it happened. So I was there the night that my friends debuted that gimmick. I was in the crowd. So I know for a fact, and that was a gimmick that was around forever. They are familiar with the North Carolina wrestling scene because they live in North Carolina. They were very well aware. And I know some things that I'm not allowed to say because it's not my place to say them. But I will tell you, they knew what they were doing. They knew that they were stealing that gimmick. I will leave it at that. But that's why I don't like them. Oh, I wrote about it. It's been out. It's been a while, but I wrote a couple articles about it, and I still have the screenshots of where they went on to Chris Jericho's podcast, saying that they were going to be the Revolt. That's whose gimmick they tried to steal. And I still have the screenshots where Chris Jericho promoted them as the Revolt. So there was a whole thing, but yeah, so that's why I don't like them. And so I'll always, and now you know.
Carney's gonna Carney.
Yeah, he said. Apparently not. They have to have 4-way matches to determine their opponents. Apparently, Benny. Apparently, they don't get a feud. Oh God, get them out. Crashes the Revolt, enters the Jericho. Yeah. Nikki says, I will never forgive them for trying to steal our friend's entire gimmick. And it wasn't just the name, it was everything that our friends created. Yes, exactly. Do you know who was also briefly a part of the Revolt for a little bit? Darius Lockhart. He was a member of the Revolt for a little bit of time. Wow. I have a shirt. One of my Revolt shirts that I wear was when Darius was part of the Revolt. But Darius is not the FTR would not be the first person that has stole stuff from Darius's gimmick. There's a very popular wrestler in WWE who took one of his nicknames.
Lovely.
He was actually just their champion. Yes. So there we go. So that's why I hate FTR, and I will never.
That's the history of art creation right there, because
And then I know that it happens in wrestling. I mean, you can look at Ric Flair, and he stole everything from, it wasn't Buddy Rogers, right? It was who was the original Nature Boy? But I just blanked on who it was.
His name was Buddy Rogers.
It was Buddy Rogers. Okay, I couldn't remember if it was it Buddy Rogers that was the original Nature Boy.
Nature Boy.
It happens. But that also was a time of territories. This is the time where the internet exists. And you can go on the internet and see where they wrestled. You can see the YouTube stuff where they wrestled as the Revolt for 5 years. And so they knew, yes, okay. Everybody is confirming that, yes, it was Buddy Rogers.
You were
okay.
right. You had it. You girl. You got it.
Yeah,
you
I
got
had
your
it. I was like,
wrestling
wait.
history.
I was like, was it? Yeah, I was like, it was Buddy Rogers.
You got
right?
your wrestling history, girl. You know.
Trying to make sure. But yeah,
You're good.
so so there's that.
Been a long show.
It has been a long show. I think we've covered everything, all the big stuff.
Yep.
Is there anything that you would like to add?
I think that's it. I think we are good for this week. I think we should let the people get back to their Sunday. Let them enjoy the 4:00 game if they're into the hand egg.
Oh, let me say. Oh, Lady B has a point. Yes, Hulk Hogan did steal from superstar Billy Graham. He sure did.
Oh, huge.
A lot of people stole from Billy Graham.
I mean, I think the reality of wrestling is that is what you do. And that's true. I mean, when you get into like literary criticism and stuff, they actually start to break it down. And there's people who believe there's only 24 literary situations and there's 36 literary situations. And so, I mean, when you even get into the just elements of storytelling, we can only tell so many stories because humans are humans. And
right.
I mean, it's like, I always use
one thing to borrow from something and a completely other thing to flat out steal.
Agree. No. When you're flat out being a poacher, when you're stealing
in this situation, they were not only.
I am not condoning that at all.
Which I'm not. I'm just clarifying that. Yes, I mean there are things where it's one thing to take certain elements. I mean, and people who have flat out stole entire gimmicks, but this is an example.
This is just as like what you would literally call in print. We would call this plagiarism. You would just be stealing from somebody else, just like copy pasting it and putting it into the thing. Right. That's a different thing entirely. I mean, being influenced, obviously, music has been influenced for decades by other music, and so the idea to be like, I think we're talking about two different things when we're talking about this guy did this and then that person did that. Right. Well, of course, I mean, I always like to use Pulp Fiction as an example. It's like everybody's done flashbacks before, but nobody's done them the way that Quentin Tarantino did in 1990 when he set up that flick. So it was a new take on an old gimmick. We've all done it all. It's, as Marcus Aurelius said, there's nothing new under the sun. So,
Right, definitely. I want to go back to Lady B's comment real quick, and actually Jermaine has something too, which I had thought about. So Lady B said, FTR is wanting to face CNC, right? Christian and Cope. That's the whole point. Then CNC versus the Bucks for dream match reasons. I like Cope and Christian, but I don't need to see them with titles. But being Tony, I could absolutely see him doing that, but they kind of already had their shot at that, and that's not the route that they went. Maybe this is how they bring them back to TV, because obviously Cope has said he was taking some time off. He wasn't sure if he was going to come back to wrestling again, because obviously Beth was injured. You can't really leave it like that. You do have to come back. So, I mean, perhaps I had not considered that. I hadn't considered anything beyond I hope that FTR loses. So I hadn't thought about bigger implications. So perhaps that is where they're going. And FTR wins the titles, gets the match with Christian and Cope. Bandito can, rest his arm and is not having to constantly defend his titles. So perhaps that's where they're going. And then, and then that could lead to Christian and Cope versus the Bucks. Maybe at All In, or something like that, or one of the bigger shows. So Lady B makes the fair point that maybe that is where it's going. I don't like it, but I could see that being where they're going with this. Jermaine says that he would like Ricochet's teammates to win a shot at the title, to get the titles off of Brodito. To be honest, that makes no sense because Ricochet and his team are so hot right now, which I agree with. And that was when Nikki and I were talking about tag teams the other night that we would rather see. GOA was the team that is one of the teams that we've mentioned. We've watched them in ROH, and they were one of ROH's best tag teams. And so they are really hot right now with Ricochet. And so to me, that would make more sense. But if Lady B's theory is correct, that this is how they get Cope and Christian back on TV, and eventually Cope and Christian versus FTR, then I could see that being what they are setting up. But I personally would like to see it be GOA over them, but I think that Lady B has a good theory. Let's see here. Yes. Oh, yeah. Nikki was talking about going back to the revolt thing. FTR only stopped because our friends had trademarked it. Thankfully, they were smart enough to get ahead. But yeah, it was not pretty there for a while. Fernando asked, what are our thoughts on Devon Dudley accusing Jim Ross of racism? Unfortunately, I am not at all surprised. For various reasons. And unfortunately, and he is an older white man from a southern state. So, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not surprising. Michael Hayes was caught being openly racist before. So, it's not, unfortunately, it's not new in WWE, and it probably is happening in other places. I'm not saying that Jim Ross is still currently, saying these things. I'm just saying in wrestling in general. So it very well could be happening today in AEW from someone else. Unfortunately, it's still something that is happening in wrestling all over the place. So unfortunately, I wish I was surprised, but I'm not at all.
He worked for, and he was brought up by Bill Watts, I believe, who was a notorious racist in his time. So I think that the accusation, especially because of his age, because of where he worked before he came up, he's from the South fundamentally. I mean, I know Oklahoma isn't, but it is. I mean, it's in that part of the country.
It's a southern state. I think
it's close enough to the cultural normality that goes on that part, in that part of the nation. And if Devon Dudley felt as though someone was racist towards him, that's a fact. I mean, I can't, that's,
Yeah, I'm not going to say that. Yeah.
I can't speak to that. Unfortunately, I'm a white lady. I mean, I know when someone's being a misogynist to me, and whether they're doing it intentionally or not, I can tell that as well. Because it's not that far out of bounds. I don't know what the point is. I mean, Devon's got his own issues, but at the same time, I mean, sadly, I think that when you think about where he grew up and where he was brought up in wrestling, I don't think it's that far-fetched to say that at some point in Jim Ross's history, he may have said or done things that.
I mean, we also have to remember the fact that Jim Ross was Vince McMahon's right-hand man for a very long time.
And that's the other thing.
Jim Ross knows a lot of things that he may never ever share, and I'm not accusing him of anything.
He was his ex-man. I mean, he was his ex-man.
I have heard from someone about some of the things that Jim Ross was reportedly involved in back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that information, coupled with being his right-hand man, I don't think Jim Ross, I know he's beloved, and I'm not taking anything away from that, because Jim Ross is somebody I listened to for a long time too, but I also well aware of the fact that he is not necessarily the image that he has been portrayed as, especially being Vince McMahon's right-hand man. So that also means, and even if he wasn't, so close to Vince for a really long time, he still could have definitely done the things that Devon says that he did. And I'm not going to say that Devon is lying, because I don't think that he is, and it's not my place to say. But unfortunately, when the clip went around, and he did not initially, Devon did not say who it was. Maven, who was interviewing him, made the Boomer Sooner reference, and Bubba Ray's face gave it all away. And then Bubba was Devon was specifically asked in another interview, was the person who was racist to you Jim Ross? And he said yes. And he said, I don't wish him, he's dealt with health issues. I don't wish that on him, but this is what happened to me. And he talks a little bit more in depth about his experience.
I mean, it is what it is. We, as a nation, one of our biggest problems right now is that we need to take the first step in recovery and admit that we have institutional racism.
Right.
But that's, unfortunately, because of the largest group of people being of a certain age, even admitting that is just too much. So here we are. But Jim Ross is of that age, and that's kind of where you have to.
And we're not excusing him of that behavior because of his age, but what we're saying is we were not surprised because
I wouldn't. It wouldn't.
The things that we know about, and I have born and raised Southern.
Well, and you can't. I can't speak to if somebody feels as though they have been a victim of racist whatever, that's something that a person that's person's feeling. That's
right.
I mean, I don't care who they are. I don't mind notwithstanding my feelings for Devon Dudley, whatever. If he felt as though that experience was said and done, I mean, I believe him.
Yeah.
Because I would like the same equity in my life.
Sure. Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. So it's really unfortunate, but I'm glad that Devon felt comfortable enough to finally tell the truth because he's talked about this before. This isn't something he just randomly brought up. It's a story that's been around for a very long time. He just didn't.
And like you said, someone asked him a direct question, and I think that's more. I think that people underestimate. Like, there's people just running their mouth, and then there's somebody that's in a circumstance where they're in an interview, and the interviewer is smart enough to craft a question in such a way that a person is like, confirm or deny that this elaborate thing happened. I mean, because he probably doesn't want to run around, especially because, I mean, let's be real, and we know this as women, because he's a beloved figure, it's going to come off as, oh, you're calling everything racism, and you're gonna, I mean, that's, as we well know, it's like, and if you come out and talk about misogyny, and then people are like, wait, you say anything? And we get all the gaslighting and the bullshit too. So like, I mean, it's not, I can't relate directly. It's a relatable experience in so much as we experience a certain form of institutional reactions that we experience on the daily too. So it's pretty easy to go, that's totally rational.
Well, and he even said, Devon, I just remember Devon says that it happened in front of Bubba Ray, and there's somebody else. I just blanked on who else he said was in the room when it happened. So not only did it happen, he says there are two witnesses to this happening. And I believe there were two incidences of this specifically with Jim Ross that Devon says it happened to him. I believe it was not just one time; it was two times. One time is too many. But that's what's going. That's what's there, and it's unfortunate that he experienced that. And again, I'm glad that Devon's talking about it because I mean, it's his truth, and he should be able to talk about it.
And we should be talking about it because this is one of our biggest fundamental, one of our biggest fundamental societal issues is the institutionalization of things like racism and ableism and sexism and all of these things. It's just so big, and it is gross, and we need to untangle that mess.
Right. And Crash is right. It's the Good Old Boys Network. It's not just, it's misogyny, it's racism, it's sexism, it's homophobia, it's all of it.
It's the whole thing. It's really
unfortunately, it is a part of wrestling's foundation and in its very fabric. And sometimes you have to pull those strings to unravel it all and to make it fall apart. And unfortunately, we live in, it's not like it, no matter what Cody says, no matter what the joke is,
he did not, in fact, cure racism.
Unfortunately, not. Unfortunately, that joke is not true.
No, unfortunately, we live in the stupidest timeline ever, and we're dealing with what we're dealing with right now. But we have you guys, and we have each other, and we can treat each other nice,
and we can disagree with each other, and still we can.
And I can be Duff Mel.
we can disagree about FTR and the Dodgers winning the World Series, and we can still. There are some things that we can disagree on, and that would be an issue that we.
Yeah, but I mean, most of the people that seem to hang here,
the FTR thing. Of course, just because I don't like them does not mean that you can't speak up about, I'm not gonna really kick you. I mean, I might. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, so we can have this discourse and have things. Like I said, Mel and I have things that we don't agree with or don't necessarily agree on, but we make it work, and we have. But I mean, there's some things that are fundamentally that you can't like.
Well, yeah. Value.
But there are, there's a
humanity and that sort of thing.
Right.
Those are kind of non-negotiables, but that's
Right.
okay because it turns out Sam and I are both pretty much on the side of humanity and people getting fed at
Right.
Christmas and that sort of thing. Basic human rights shit.
Right. Yes. I talked to
Anywho.
you. And then Jermaine says, if TK is having such issues with the women main eventing one of the pay-per-views, why doesn't he just watch the top star Mercedes who main evented an all-women's CMLL show that outdid anything WWE Evolution 2? Yes, Jermaine.
I don't think he's ever watched a women's wrestling show.
I don't know. CMLL, yeah, they just literally 3 weeks ago had an all-women's show that Mercedes main evented and had an incredible match with
I kind of like that in Mexico. There's no delineation whatsoever. It's just like luchadors. That's it. That's what you are. Like it's not. There's no you just are. You are a luchador. You're a chick.
And there's more if you're a Rudo or Ruda. So basically, if you're a babyface or a heel.
Yeah, right.
Basically it.
It's really simple. It's kind of fun. Their gimmicks are awesome. I would love, and I know that Jen talks about going back. I would love to go to Arena Mexico just the one time. Yes, that would be it. I want to see that level of awesome, Matt. I love lucha. I
love lucha, but I think also being in that environment.
I want to be in that environment. I want to
fun.
Because
that's a new wrestling bucket list besides going to the Tokyo Dome and quite a few venues and there's other venues in Japan that I really would like to go to.
Like Sumo or Osaka Joe.
Yeah, and Ryogoku. Exactly. Those things. But yes, Arena Mexico is now on my wrestling bucket list. I'd love to go check out a show there. And then it was brought up in the comments, but it got moved around. I heard about it. I did not get up to watch New Japan. I will hopefully be getting to it tonight or within the next couple of days.
Yeah, I need to watch that, but I need to bring my tissues.
I really want to see Takeshita versus Goto, and I really want to see Tsuji versus Tana.
Mm.
I heard they made a questionable decision with the tag team belts, which I'm sure Singing Strong Style is going to have a lot to say about that. But I did see what the Wrestle Kingdom match is going to be for Takeshita, and I'm excited and also torn. And so I don't know if Mel wants me to spoil it. It was spoiled in the comments.
You can.
I don't know if you thought it.
You're good.
Takeshita is facing Tsuji, and it's title for title. Winner takes all, basically, from what I understand. So if Takeshita wins, he gets Tsuji's title. 2, if Tsuji wins, he is the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. And I love Yota Tsuji. If you have watched this show, you know that I love him. You also know that I love Takeshita. I don't, as of right now, November 2nd, without watching the matches, I don't see how you have Takeshita drop his title in his second defense. I don't see you have him do all of these things to be a 3-contract wrestler, somebody who has beat Zack Sabre Jr., has now beaten Hiroki Goto, to have him turn around and drop it to Tsuji. And that's not to say Tsuji's not worthy. I just don't think that that's where they're going. I don't think Takeshita is dropping that title at the Tokyo Dome. I just don't see that happening. I mean, maybe things change between January and November and January to make me think otherwise, but I'm here for the match. I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. I think it'll be a very good match, but I don't see, as of right now, I don't see Takeshita dropping that title at Wrestle Kingdom or anytime soon for that matter. But I
don't think that would be good for New Japan right now. I don't think that would be the right move for them, just fundamentally. No slag on Tsuji. I just don't think that's the time. It's not now because they're just getting their momentum back doing things like having Takeshita have the thing in the first place.
Brad disagrees with us, which he's not allowed. I don't know why he thinks he can. Brad says Tsuji's story has always been about winning the title and bringing back the V4 belt. Takeshita losing the title in the second defense would suck, but it's happening.
Oh, I mean,
still disagree, but
I believe you.
I guess that's a fair point, but as of right now, again, maybe that changes, or maybe I'll change my opinion of it after that. But right now, I don't see that being the case. But but Brad in here because of disagreement. First, he's out here celebrating the Dodgers win. Now he's out here and he's slandering Hangman Page. Don't think because I didn't read your comment that I didn't see it. I saw what you said about Hangman, and Hangman is never wrong. Stop that. Now you're coming in here telling me that Takesha's going to lose at Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh, man.
Crash that Instaban.
We love you, Brad. We really do.
No, we don't.
I'm sorry, Sam doesn't.
Just kidding.
Not right now, I don't, damn it.
Not today, I don't.
Not today.
But yeah, I am looking forward to those matches. I do definitely need to check them out. But all right, I think for real we are done now.
All right.
Unless anybody throws in some last minute question, but I think we're good. I think we're next week we'll just be back at our regular time. Who in the hell knows what's going to happen in wrestling, but in the next week or so for us to talk about. Maybe we'll have some more tournament matches to talk about because apparently they're only. I was like, are we only doing the women's tournament on Dynamite? They didn't do a collision match.
I have no idea what's happening.
Are we only doing? Are we waiting? There is a live. There is a live collision the Saturday. Or I'm sorry, the Wednesday after Dynamite. But I think there's collisions live next week too. I don't know. I thought we were gonna do. No, we were gonna split the tournament.
The
like
one after Blood is live.
It is live. Which is why, because Blood and Guts, so that means both Blood and Guts will be on Dynamite. Because some people are like, well, are they splitting them? No.
Right.
Nope.
No. So and that was because I asked, and Jeremy told me that they were in 2 different cities that time. So
yes, they're in Greensboro, and then in Erie, I believe it's Erie, Pennsylvania. I believe.
Somewhere near there.
So and I forgot when I was going on my rant, I was gonna get to the point where I assume that means 2 Blood and Guts matches, and that's it. I don't know, unless because most Blood and Guts matches are like 40-ish, 45 minutes plus. So, and then you've got to account for all the entrances and stuff. So I assume it would be just those 2 matches. But then I joked, which I don't want to put it in the universe, but I joked that my luck, the women's Blood and Guts match will be like 29 minutes, and then I'll get stuck with a 30-minute FTR match because it's in North Carolina.
Oh, dear.
And because Tony hates me. So I was like, that's my luck, is the women would open, we get an FTR match, and then the men would close and they'd get longer. But I'm hoping
get your popcorn ready, sweetheart.
But the women, I hope are main event.
You better get your meanest question ready for Tony in your next scrum.
Well, that's the thing. I told Nikki, Full Gear is 10 days after Blood and Guts, so there will be no media call until the Blood and Guts will be behind us, and Tony will be like, focus on maybe the women main eventing, and then if they're not main eventing, guess what I'm gonna ask.
I can't wait for the Full Gear scrum. Actually, you guys are about to get salty Sam.
God, you got her today. I thought I got all of the not anger, but I thought I got all the frustration out on Thursday, but apparently not. It reawakened.
No, because we had to talk to everybody about it, so we made the finer points.
Yes. All right,
kids.
We're gonna go for real this time. We'll see you next week. Cool. Come back and see if I have something else to rant about.
Next Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We hope you guys enjoy your week. Stay safe out there. Don't crash out on candy.